What's up, Six Borough Podcast fans? How the hell is everyone today? Let's get right into these ads, get into the episode. First up, we got Eric Ott at RCG Mortgage. If you're a first-time home buyer or have been thinking about refinancing your home, shoot Eric a call or a text at 631-774-1783. He'll get you pre-qualified and answer any questions you might have about the process. Again, you can get him at 631-774-1783. We're also brought to you guys by AS Engineering Services. They are a full-scale engineering and architectural firm. You could reach them at 631-560-0259. Contact them for all your new builds, rebuilds, remodels, whatever you guys are doing. They can handle it. Again, that's 631-560-0259 or on the web at www.asengineeringservices.com. Last but not least, we got Municipal Land Survey. You can reach them at 631-345-2658. Contact them for all your land surveying needs. Guys, I'm going to recommend you grab yourself a pen and paper because you're going to want to take notes for this episode. We have our first three-peat on. That would be Mike the Caveman Kuhn. Mike, if you haven't heard his previous episodes, is a wealth of knowledge. I'm not even going to do it justice by giving it a summary. So just get a pen and paper, listen intently, and you're going to learn some stuff.
Do it.
All right, guys, we're live. Let's get into it.
Six Borough Podcast. D-Rock.
Yarbs.
Eric.
And our guest.
Don't be a faggot. Hold on. Announce yourself fucking right.
Eric.
Okay. Jesus Christ. Third time in the building.
Mike the Caveman Kuhn.
Nice. Mike, it's good to have you back.
Our
Thanks for
only
having me.
three-peat, right?
Yeah, Mike's our only three-peat.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, you're probably the only person, not to diminish any of our guests, but you are probably our guest with the most information, so it requires multiple visits. We can't. 2 hours is not enough for what you got in your brain. Man.
I appreciate that. You know, you can call me your Rhonda Patrick. Maybe we can add your Jordan Peterson on, too. So
Ooh.
Combo
Wow.
factor.
Stepping up the game
Listen,
today.
If you have the philosophical insights of Jordan Peterson and the scientific mind like Rhonda Patrick, I don't even know if I want to sit next to you at that point. That's just too much.
So, yeah, I mean, it's funny. Since the last time I was on, like, I got into a real dark place. I had to go and save my father from the underworld. So I had to really go through the whole thing.
Are you using that metaphorically?
Are you
using that metaphorically, or are you being serious?
Well, if you haven't listened to that much Peterson, you probably know.
I've listened to a plenty of Peterson, so
Well,
I
yeah,
understand.
That's his go-to thing.
And he's
you
going
know?
to slay the dragon. I know.
Exactly. So, no, seriously though, I was like a little bit of a darker place. So, but definitely came back out of that. We're dealing a lot better now, and that was one of those things.
Do we have to worry about you?
Nah, we're good. 100%, we're fine. But just like 1,000 other people, however many thousands, Peterson's huge. Like, so a lot of that caused me to like read a lot more into philosophy and things like that. So yeah,
I love that guy. I saw you. Didn't you go see him speak?
I met him New York City the day of his book release.
Frankly,
Yeah.
I'm a little upset you didn't extend the invite.
You're not the only one who's told me that.
Okay.
So.
Tell us a little bit about who Jordan Peterson is for everyone that doesn't know very well.
So, quick short version is he's a clinical psychologist who's also a professor at the University of Toronto, formerly at Harvard, and he gets a lot of flack because he is somebody that is trying to fight totalitarianism on both the right and the left, and because of that, he gets painted as an alt-right Nazi. And anybody who actually listens to him, what I meant by like going to a dark place. His whole thing was that he got into why was the United States and Russia willing to end the world with the push of a button? Like, what ideas were worth it enough to do that? And he spent 30 years, well, about 20 really, writing a book called Maps of Meaning that he wrote that came out like 99. And I kind of got into that same kind of mindset. Like, how the hell did we get to where we are today? And I had other things, but that was like a big thing. Like, how are people just so insane today? So I've spent a lot of time trying to put that together, and I have like a book idea coming out too. That's a whole separate thing. But
So what is there a general like premise as to why people are so insane?
so
I have my own premise, but I want to hear what the clinical, logical version is first. I'll give you the street version after.
You guys Game of Thrones fans?
Nope.
Yes.
Yes.
I've seen all of the episodes.
Okay. So the author, George R.R. Martin, he has a whole thing where everybody's the hero of their own story. And that's a big driving point of like that show is that you can watch from every angle and everybody thinks they're doing the right thing. And obviously other factors will come in that will screw it up. And that's really what I think is happening right now. The way I've diagnosed my own psychotic mind right now, that I've been frantic about it, is that everybody's, I know it's a pretty straightforward conclusion, but people have gone down some really deep rabbit holes and don't realize where it's heading. It's kind of my general thesis.
The street version.
Yeah, here we go.
No, but what's allowed it to get to that point? Like that's like my question. How did we get here, where we respect people's opinions and we give people like the time of day that definitely haven't put in the time or the hours of work in, and they definitely don't deserve any shred of credibility. Yet we see them plastered on the news all the time, and we listen to their like obtuse and irate statements on both sides, both the left and the right. Like it's either white supremacists or some spirit-gendered, I don't even know what you'd even, I don't some spirit-gendered G from another.
Are you using compelled pronouns right now?
I think so. I think that's what I did, but I didn't want to offend anyone.
So part of that really has to do with like part of it has to really go down to the philosophical underroots, the underpinnings of where we're at. Let me reword that because this is a really deep rabbit hole that I've spent literally a year since the last time I was here. Really deep rabbit hole to go down. Part of it is that people don't actually talk anymore. There are a lot of bubbles that are getting formed, and you saw
Echo chambers. You think
that would be a better way of wording it? Yes, but everybody is locking themselves up and blocking somebody they don't like, and nobody's talking anymore. And part of it comes down to the Z's, the Zers, all those. So a lot of them, the humanities right now, which are the social sciences, are very much locked into a postmodern framework. And that gets a lot of heat.
So you got to explain what postmodernism is, too, because...
So, I was going to say, is that it gets a lot of heat because that's a huge rabbit hole to go down. It encompasses philosophy, architecture, art, and a whole bunch of things. So people that want to argue for it are like, oh, well, you clearly don't know anything about it because you're just trying to say it's this one thing. And talking strictly about the philosophical aspects... Basically, there were a bunch of French intellectuals. There's a whole, again, this is a really brief overview, but there were guys like Foucault and Derrida and Jean-Paul Sartre, and their basic framework is that there are no more objective narratives, meaning that there's no reality, everything's okay, it's like a moral nihilism.
It's all subjective reality, right?
Correct.
Essentially, your mind's perception creates reality, and not only... It extends past you.
Yes. So
that's the way I understood it.
Well,
anyway.
Sort of, and it's actually even crazier than that. Is that it doesn't? So, an objective reality would be that there's we're all sitting in this room right now. We can agree there's a table here, there's a chair here. Those are objective facts we can all agree on. Yes. Right. In the case of the postmodern thing, it's more so that you believe that the chair's here, so it's here. It's only here because you personally did.
Right.
So everybody's experience is more important than
what the collective agreement is.
Right, or what's objectively there.
That's what I mean by when I say that your subjective reality extends beyond you, right? So it's that your perception of the reality is the most important thing, so everybody else has to respect what you perceive.
Pretty much.
So if I say I identify as a fox...
I say go fuck yourself.
Well, it extends beyond that. You have to accept it, essentially.
Pretty much.
I understand that aspect of it, and I understand that like when everybody is like all good and nice, and that's cute. But what happens when evil people decide that there's something bad, and the other people are no longer equipped to stop them? Like I know people that could decide that they are a tornado, and that they could just come and they could kill hundreds and hundreds of people before they were caught. Or I know intelligent people that could just decide, like, oh, I'm going to be a murderer. And if everybody else is supposed to accept that, and we get that far down, like, that path, who's going to be there in order to stop them? Because there obviously are crazy people, and there obviously are power-hungry people.
Well,
so how exactly do we go there if somebody arises that is like a Mao or a Hitler or a Stalin?
well, if you ask Peterson about that, that's what Peterson is arguing against. That postmodernism itself leads to fascism, totalitarianism, and ultimately genocide.
So, yeah, exactly. Essentially, his thought was that
I mean, that might be okay. This Earth's overpopulated.
about 150 years ago.
Traffic's real bad.
We agree on the traffic thing.
Yeah.
I'm okay with, like, every time somebody falls off a skateboard and dies, like, I just see lanes opening up, and I'm cool with that.
That's the same thing like eating the Tide fucking pods.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Well, exactly
Eat,
right.
Eat them.
Correct.
That's what we need in life.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need more Tide Pods that look
Flavor
even more
'em.
delicious.
I was saying the other day that they need to, like,
Flavor 'em.
Tide, instead of getting rid of them, should flavor them, like cotton candy flavored, s'mores flavored, and just
Heavily advertised.
Yeah.
get
If
rid of all these idiots.
I'll chip in on that Kickstarter for that advertising.
If you're dumb enough to eat a fucking Tide Pod, you don't need to be breathing the same air as I am. Like, you just don't. Sorry.
Do you feel like a lot of this has come out of the fact that Darwinism has been essentially ruled out in modern times? Like, we have, like, warnings on ladders not to eat the ladder because you might have negative health consequences from eating the ladder. And, like, everything is child-proof. Like, kids all wear bicycle helmets, and nobody really faces any of the negative consequences of their bad decisions anymore. Like, when we were kids, it would be like, wow, that's a really big hill. We probably shouldn't ride our bikes down that. You always had that one friend that was
fuck
not
it,
the
I'm doing it
sharpest
anyway.
tool in the shed, and he'd be like, yeah, I'm going to go. And you'd be like, I don't think you should do that. And he'd be like, I'm going to go. And then you'd be like, hey, Dave, Mike, Yarbs, Steve is going to go ride his bike down the big hill. You got to come watch. And we'd all go watch, and he'd burn and like.
Well, that's what gave birth to
you.
YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you had Jackass before that,
Yeah.
and like
Like, I feel like because nobody really faces any negative consequences for their actions anymore, people can just decide to be whatever they want to be, no matter how asinine and know how silly it is.
Well, the problem with that is everything is someone else's fault.
correct. So, what I was saying before there is like he basically found, Pearson's whole thing was that Nietzsche and Dostoevsky about 150 years ago basically predicted that with the death of God, people have misinterpreted what nihilism is, what Nietzsche put forth, is that he didn't say that that's the right thing. He said that we should come forward with a new set of ideas with this, with organized religion, with people starting to move away from that in the 1800s. We need to figure something else out because the only other two options are either totalitarianism or nihilism. So everybody's going to just do whatever the hell they want, or they're going to find a strong figure to follow.
Well, explain again. Explain what
I hope to
nihilism,
one day
because a
be
lot of
that
people
strong
don't.
figure. I hope to one day be that strong figure, or at least like amongst a group of the strong figures. Like, this is like my overarching like goal in life.
There you go.
We know all about your cult.
So nihilism would be like just absurdity. Like nothing really matters. So it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna do anything. So
Life has no meaning. It doesn't
Correct.
matter what you do.
Right.
So fuck it.
So and that's what the postmodern. So essentially, Marxism failed everywhere it was tried, like in its true form, but it was never truly tried, right? So because it was, those French intellectuals I mentioned before were like, well, we can't call ourselves Marxists anymore. We need to figure out, because that narrative didn't work. So no narratives can work, obviously, 'cause that's the only one that should have worked. And so they kind of moved away from that, and today what they've done is they basically blended together those aspects that, no, there are no objective narratives, but we need to have a narrative. Otherwise, there's no goal in life. Otherwise, we're going to be nihilistic. And it shifted away from economics, although with Bernie, it's kind of been being brought back to economics.
Give everybody your money so you can go to college and everybody's equal.
Yes. So it moved away from that, and that's the whole multiculturalism aspect. That's the whole identity politics in general, and then it's now moved identity politics in terms of both race and sex and not sex, because sex doesn't change, but gender and sexual orientation, like all that. So it's more that everybody's individual identity and all the groups they belong to have superseded the actual individual.
So we're essentially turning into
So who can
a bee colony.
Wait. Now let's figure out who each of us are going to be.
Let's hear what you think.
I don't know yet. I haven't had enough time to formulate an opinion. But if I see all of these less intelligent, physically weaker human beings pretending to be things, then what can I pretend to be?
Well, there you go.
What you can pretend to be what you've been pretending to be your whole life. Well,
Human?
most of it. No, normal.
Well, see, the funny part about that is that the whole intersectionality aspect, that we need to consider the opinions of a woman, and we need to consider the opinions of a black woman. We need to consider the opinions of a black trans woman. And moving it forward, if you actually do the math on it,
there's a lot of opinions in there if you actually do the math
right
on it.
Well, what's even funnier
And what
though?
percentage of the population do some of these people make
Bingo.
up?
So that's it. If you actually do the math on it, do 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I mean, separation. You know,
You could have just left it at Bacon's number D on your shirt.
it is on my shirt.
Dave, talking to the mic.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So,
No, he's gone.
yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Nietzsche killed him, right? So, if we do that math, so if you take, you know, you might have to go one more step if you use women as well, but so 0.51% of the population is female, 0.04% of the population is gay.
Are you just making this up? Or
No,
just,
like,
okay.
so well, 4%, so it's 0.5.
I heard it's 11.
Right. Well, no, it's 4%. Any of those other crap you hear now. Trans is upwards of 1.5. They're generally including intersex, so we'll say 0.5 is the more accepted number. So it's like 1.7 million people. So you multiply those three. You take whatever else you want. Average income, so income between $10,000-$30,000 is like 15% of the population. Multiply that by 0.15. Basically, you keep multiplying that out.
That's too much input. They
I
should
know.
just let
Just
smart
bear-
people make decisions.
Well, I'm telling you here. So you multiply that out, and so it's after 6 degrees of intersectionality. So it's a black trans woman who is gay, is lesbian, whatever, however you want to word it, who is poor because they only make $20,000. You multiply that all out. At the end of the day, you end up with like 1 in 6 billion. So you end up with math that's higher than the number of people on the planet.
That's insane.
So you're down to the level of the individual, is the point. So after 6 degrees, you're literally at the individual anyway, so who the hell cares?
So this is lowest common denominator thinking.
So basically, they're trying to be intersectional, trying to make sure that we take care of each person's collective groups, and you need that level going on. If you mathematically do it out, there is no person who's like you.
Yeah.
There's literally, it's mathematically possible. It is impossible. So, yeah.
I
Completely different track than we were thinking of going. Yeah?
Well, you brought up Peterson.
I did. That was my fault.
This is your fault.
It was my fault.
I don't know exactly how we ended up here, but I just kind of feel like at some point, if the general, you do the math, right? So there's got to be a level of intelligent people here that see the forest for the trees, right? And at some point, I would hope that it brings some type of level balance back.
So,
right, it's everything. It's just like even the universe is expanding and contracts, right? Like this, whatever wave you want to call it, the social wave or whatever, has to expand and contract and come back to some kind of level of normalcy.
Exactly. I completely agree. Pendulum is what I've been saying for a while. And see, while I expect so the whole identity politics thing is what led towards Trump, and how the rise of the alt-right and the alt-light that divided out separately, where it's the ones who actually are leaning more towards the white nationalism end, and those who are just like, no, we just don't want to deal with this identity politics crap. Because, ironically enough, you actually listen to the actual alt-righters, the Richard Spencers, Jared Taylors out there, they're playing the exact same identity politics game.
But just with their small little
that
group.
they're saying, yeah, okay, fine, no problem, we'll be the whites, but we're not going to lose. So that's what they're playing. They're playing the exact same game. They're playing the Nazis versus the Soviets.
In my mind, though, like, I guess I'm saying alt-right with bunny ears. The alt-right are the white supremacists. I don't know any.
Right.
But I do know some people that identify as unicorn ninjas.
Right.
And I see people who definitely fall into the left version category, and I encounter them online. I encounter them in regular everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the alt-right or the white supremacists like I hear like maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 names on television.
Right.
But I never see them or hear about them, or I've never heard anyone speak about them positively or even neutrally in any manner whatsoever.
Do you think that's a virtue of by where we live? Also, we live in.
No, I mean I'm friends with people from all over the country. I almost feel like that they've been created by the far left so that they can have a bad guy. And so that they can rally
There's always got to
around
be
something.
another.
Yeah,
There's always got to be another.
You got to have a North Korea. There's always got to be North Korea.
But it's also like
Saddam
Mike just
Hussein.
said, when you do the math, that group of people, the reason why you don't know them is because there's a very little amount of them as well.
Exactly, yes. So one swung to the other way, and that's the right. They needed a boogeyman to basically be able to push out. On the converse of that, then the fascists showed up, and now everybody is a fascist. So those showed up, and then
anybody with a differing opinion is now a fascist.
correct because you're not allowed to talk. Because there is no dialogue. There is no discussion anymore.
Everything's a microaggression.
But this only goes on. This only goes on. All these discussions, they don't go on face to face. They only go on the internet.
On college campuses.
Yeah.
Because or they only go on where there's one side altogether having the discussion. Because you never see both sides hatch it out. Because some of the things that are said would lead to instant violence.
Correct.
And it seems like both sides, the white supremacists and the I don't know what would you consider the other postmodernists?
There's two sides.
I don't even know whose side who is on.
So
now
there's the
point.
social justice side.
Okay.
And I mean, there's two sides inside that. So there's the social justice. Those are your average run of the mill. Used to be like uber liberal back in like the 90s.
So they just want things to be nice.
They were the PC people. Their social justice is more accurate.
They just want everyone should be nice to everyone. That's what
correct.
we should do.
But then there's the violent side of that, which would be Antifa.
But they're not even like really real. Like maybe a bunch of people get paid $20 an hour to show up and put some T-shirts on for the news.
So it's but they're the small minority that the alt-right is to the libertarian alt-right aspect.
Like, do they have a web page that you can go to and like an address?
Refusefascism.org.
Do they have
it's
like
going
an address,
down.
like a mailing address?
Some of them, yes.
Okay.
Are you convinced that most of these are agent provocateurs? Is that what you're saying?
I really do feel that way, just based upon like what I see in the media. I see people who aren't really committed. I've seen committed people do violence before, and I see uncommitted people do violence before, and I feel like, and there's a real big difference.
Yeah.
It's like when you get in, a lot of the people here, you guys have worked as security, and you fought the guy who's 100% committed to hurting you versus the guy that just wants to look tough. It's like it's a total flip.
It's night and day.
It's night and day.
A lot of them, right? Exactly. So a lot of them are just social justice types who are LARPing as like, I'm gonna be a badass and I'm gonna do this. And so, but the problem is that a lot of it though is even just running. So the whole black bloc concept is really just running.
What is it called?
Black bloc.
And what is
that? So that started with legit, like actual anarchists in Europe.
Black bloc?
BLOC. In Europe.
You really have gone down a dark place.
No,
You're fucking.
I've watched way too much. So Black Bloc is like actual anarchists. Like these are some legit nobody screwing around in Europe. So like the G20 last year.
They're the ones that go to break up the giant meetings and they light like
exactly. So they all wear black, and it's a block of blackness that went exactly. So that's the whole Antifa look. The whole idea is they're all wearing black to be able to make it harder for the cops to actually do anything.
If they start training MMA, I'll be afraid. Until then, I'm not taking them serious.
I've said that for a
Well,
long
did
time,
you
too.
see the video of these people at Berkeley and Jake Shields was kicking their ass?
Yeah, Jake Shields beat the hell out of a bunch of them.
Well, like when you see some of these movements that come out of Eastern Europe, like the Ukraine, and you see these guys, they're taking the teenagers and they go to MMA gyms, and you're like, okay, this is like a whole population that I wouldn't want to mess with in any capacity.
Well, this is what I.
But if they're not like that, I feel like they're not really committed to anything aside from like Twitter bombing.
Are you familiar with Steven Crowder?
Yeah, but
he did.
I want to smack the shit out of him. Just in real life.
Regardless, though, but him and his partner did a thing where they infiltrated Antifa, and it was literally somebody like coaching them to do violence, but was not committed to do it themselves. That's basically what they were getting at.
They
like, guys handing out weapons, going, "You can do this, this, and this," and they were like, "Well, what are you doing?" And the guy's like, "Oh, I'm just here handing out supplies.
I'm just here getting.
They're trying
paid.
to get
I'm
people.
I'm getting paid by George Soros to get you guys to do
So
something
see,
bad.
that's part of the problem too. So There are
How can I get that job?
right. I mean, I hear you.
The George Soros job?
Yeah, the George Soros money.
No. I mean, like
The black
he's going to
bloc?
pay me a
Right.
few $100,000 a year to convince people
I don't know, email
to
him.
do bad things.
Right.
Look up George Soros' email.
So
Can we send it from the Sixth Borough podcast? We'll get a group deal.
Hey, George, I got 4 guys you might want to put on payroll.
4 guys. I'll even bring together. I'll go to the gym. We'll get
Right.
like a whole crew. I can get at least 150 people that are committed.
yeah. So the problem with that is that's where we start getting to like the Alex Jones, like, you know, people hear that and they're like, oh, well, I've heard too much about George Soros and this fake news, and it gets a little too squirrely down
Well, that's
that
even
road.
more fractal with like the subgroups of, it just gets more ridiculous where you can extrapolate out on like how low of a percentage that really is. Is there really people? How large a percentage are being paid by George Soros to be
Right.
agent provocateurs? It's probably less than the actual groups that we know exist.
And the rest are useful idiots that show
Correct.
up.
Probably.
And so that's really where I'm looking at this. Is that right? There are and that's kind of what Pearson was saying too. Is like, look, a lot of these things had great goals. Okay, Lenin and the people that were following him were like, okay, we got this.
Yeah, we can do this right.
Right. The people that followed Hitler, for the most part, were ordinary people
They thought they were doing the right thing.
who had war reparations done against him. He didn't run on the platform of, okay, we're going to gas 6 million Jews. That wasn't his like party platform. He did say they couldn't be citizens, but he didn't run that party platform. He said, we're going to take care of the country that we got destroyed by the Treaty of Versailles. Like, we're going to get in, we're going to fix this, and we're good.
And they were seriously taken advantage of in the Treaty of Versailles.
Oh, yeah.
But they did try to take over the world.
Oh, absolutely right. So there was a lot of other issues going on in there. My point being is that the person that comes to power isn't necessarily going to be selling themselves with that, and the people that are following them are those useful idiots, like you said.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people here think they're doing the right thing. So
Even the people up top,
Right.
they all, that's the whole thing, is they all think they're doing the right thing.
Right.
They're the heroes in their story.
exactly. And so there's different personality traits that can lead to, and that's more into the whole Pearson thing. There's different personality traits that can lead people towards certain directions. People that are more conscientious, people that think more about the future and care about what's going to happen in the future, think more on the conservative end and think about, no, we have to actually consider what's going to happen. Those who are more open and who are more agreeable tend towards the more progressive side because they want to be able to make everything okay, make everything equal. And that's just the way they're hardwired. That's the way their brains are programmed. The idea is neither one has it exactly right. Nobody has the correct answer individually. We need to be able to work together. You can't do that if we don't talk. That's basically my biggest thing, is that people need to be able to actually talk it out.
Yeah. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Like,
You're also entitled to find out that your opinion is wrong.
Correct.
for sure, 100%. It's
Sometimes it has to get beaten out of you.
There
well,
goes Eric Ott.
Well,
George Soros, hope you're listening.
Well, therein lies the problem, is that when talking stops, that's the only option.
yeah.
But I think that talking doesn't stop. That's the problem. Like, talking never stops long enough for real violence to be instituted. It's always just left in this, like, wishy-washy area where somebody gets, like, a moral victory for the night, and that's really it. And then it goes back the other way, and next thing you know,
Well, it
there's a
depends on
tidal
what your
wave and
goal
everyone
is.
forgets.
Your goal is always violence.
Just here for the violence.
My goal is not always violence. My goal is not to waste an absurd amount of time trying to convince somebody to change their mind based upon a premise that's not what they really want to argue. Like, oh, I think socialism is better because they can't compete and they're lazy and they don't want to put the work in, so that they're an advocate for socialism, but they won't say that. Everything should be fair. But really what they're saying is, I don't think I can compete in the system that exists, so I'm going to try to change it to benefit me personally more.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't. The thing is that I don't know that everybody thinks that way.
I think that a lot of people do.
No, I think what Mike said. A lot of people think that they want things to be fair. They think that they're actually
Right,
working
and
with-
but
I know somebody like that who doesn't think that way. You know him too.
But fairness has never existed.
Right.
in
Never.
all
It's
of humanity.
it's a dream. I'm not saying that they're not misguided.
But fairness can exist. Fairness
It
cannot
doesn't
exist.
Fairness doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
Right.
It's just it doesn't exist in anywhere. In
Look at
nature.
Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, it's not genetic.
It's not fair.
Right.
Look at this room.
But-
Look at me standing next to you. Like, I mean,
But on
Hey,
the
fuck
same
you. Don't use me
time,
as an example.
but at the same time,
Yarborough's flexing that height on all of us in here. Flexing his height.
You're the anomaly. You're not supposed to exist in nature. There's not a lot of you.
You know what? You know what evens
I'm the
it
one
out?
that proves the point.
Do you know what evens it out? The fact that you have to sit in little chairs made for
Yeah.
Dave and Mike.
hey, now it's true.
It
But
does
see,
fucking suck.
true.
that dude though,
That's what you
had
get for
to
being
work-
odd.
he had to work in a sand quarry from the age 12 to age 20. So
Yeah.
that's one of those ones where it's like, all right, that
He's
dude-
fucking Conan, is what he is.
right.
He's
Like
an
that
actual-
dude definitely was oppressed, and look at him now. So
Yeah.
it's like you can get over that. You can get through it. Yeah, your life sucked, man, but
He got
everybody's life's gonna
wrestle
suck at some point.
fucked.
Yeah.
Well, still up there. So
But I think that I'm not saying that you're wrong, Eric. There's a lot of people that do have that thought process, but I think more people probably think that they're just trying to do the nice, compassionate thing, and that's what they want. They want to see things leveled out and give everybody a fighting chance. But people like us understand that's not the case. It's just not how the world works. And I think people are misguided. Their heart's in the right place, but they're misguided. It's not. It's a nice thought, but it's just not realistic, and
Yeah.
it's not pragmatic. That doesn't really actually help anybody.
Yeah,
that
it helps no one. It does nothing, because I don't want a doctor that fucking failed science because, everything's fair, so he got a chance to be a doctor, or a fucking engineer who can't do math.
Well, not
Like,
even that. Also, like, what do you strive for without inequality? You know, that's the thing. And Peterson argues
There's no
this.
goals.
People also want equality of outcome, and that's completely unrealistic, because then the work becomes meaningless. If the quality of outcome is there, the work that you do becomes meaningless, because then you're not going to have these like CEO types who are going to work ungodly hours and not sleep and become billionaires. You know, you don't have Steve Jobs if there's a quality of outcome. You don't have.
And if you don't have billionaires, you don't have SpaceX, you don't have Tesla.
Right.
If you don't have billionaires, you don't have people that are working.
You don't
to
have
innovate.
roadsters flying through the air.
Although
right now with
funny
a fucking
enough-
dummy.
You know what you have? You know
but
what you
Tesla and SpaceX were funded by the government too, so it's kind of like
I guess partially.
Right.
But still, Tesla's.
But you don't get to that
battery-powered
level
car-
without.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
Tesla's battery-powered car was not going to be developed by Ford or GM or Chevron.
You don't get to
or
launch
Shell.
a car into space unless you have ascended to a level like that, where you can go, I'm
my
going to launch
favorite
my
person.
car into space on a rocket because fuck it.
With circuit board saying "Made on Earth by humans."
Yeah.
Fucking amazing.
Blasting David Bowie.
Yes.
But, like, that's what I mean. People don't realize that. If there's a quality of outcome, the work becomes meaningless. And if I'm not saying you shouldn't be given, I can't say I wouldn't like to have more people have a fighting chance should they want to take it. That's a great thought for everybody, but it's just not how it works.
Here's the problem with that: is there are a lot of fighting chances, and people don't fucking take them. There are
Of course.
so many government assistance programs. There's so many opportunities for people that they don't fucking take. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna give them more opportunities. So what? So then they don't take them. It fucks us even more. Like if all the money that we dump into government funding and stuff with it was actually being allocated and used and like taken advantage of, I'd say, okay, maybe we do need to give more. Maybe we need to try harder. But it's not. It's people that would rather fucking stand on the side of the road with a sign asking for money instead of going to a work assistance program or a shelter or so, because they're gonna make more standing there going, oh, thanks. That's $5.
Yeah.
Thanks. Like people don't take advantage of the things that are already in place for them to help them out of the gutter, to help them, achieve more in their life. So why should we be doing more to help these people?
Right. So it's one of those where, yes, there is inequality, but that is literally the nature of life.
Do you know what? Do you know what causes the inequality? Safety labels on things that don't let people weed themselves out of the system.
Pulling Tide Pods off the shelves.
And the more
let them
people that don't have an opportunity to kill themselves,
Don't win a social Darwin Award, or
Yeah.
is a Darwin Award.
Yeah,
Darwin.
yeah.
They had a chance to win one.
the more people that aren't rooted out by Darwinism, the larger the group of dependents become.
Yeah,
And
there's no need for that.
That's just math.
Yeah.
Like the fucking idiot on what was it, on Instagram or Facebook that decided that a book was bulletproof and his girlfriend shot him through a book. I was like, people like outraged by this. I'm like, no, fucking great.
Oh God.
So, any asshole that thinks a fucking book is gonna stop a bullet,
Did he die?
I think so.
It's another one off the dole.
Yeah. And people were like getting up in arms about like the girl going to jail. I'm like, yeah, she should go to fucking jail. You're a fucking retard. Like, I'm sorry, you are dumb if you think. Fucking try it out first. Like, if you're gonna be the one pulling the trigger, go, okay, cool. Hold the book up for a second. Oh, look, it went clear through the book. I'm not gonna shoot that with you holding it in front of your chest.
They should give her the death penalty too. It'll be cheaper for the
Fine.
taxpayer.
Oh man.
I'm all for a real brutal justice. And
I'm for like televising it because it'll deter quite a lot of people.
I think so.
It's a possibility. I'm not necessarily against more brutal system, but
I like that Middle East justice, but you just got to apply it fairly.
Fairly, yeah. It can't
Not
be.
against,
Yeah.
not
Nah,
against,
no
not
such
against-
thing.
I'm with you on
It's the
that.
paradox there.
I'm with you on that.
Always going to
for,
be
like,
martyrs.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta. Sometimes you gotta break a couple good eggs to make an omelet, and that's just how life is.
Oh, yeah.
But if you just keep that formula moving forward, eventually the good outweighs the bad, and life goes on.
I'm with you on that for like definitive pedophiles. Like,
Yeah.
if we know for a fact, like,
I'm
we
up
can,
for
like,
that too. 'Cause
disembowel a
You
person.
keep
Yeah, I'm
hearing
cool with that.
every week. You hear
Televise it.
Every week it's someone new.
Yeah.
Something new. It's crazy.
Yeah, think about how few Harvey Weinsteins there would be if we did that. If fucking, you found out that someone, raped and sexually, molested a child, and on the 10 o'clock news, instead of, interrupting it for president's, speech or whatever.
Yeah, they let the family members beat the guy to death.
Yeah.
Right,
Fine.
like the
the
gymnast coach.
Yeah, the gymnast coach.
Doctor. The guy tried to like attack him, and that was amazing.
Did you see that video?
Yeah, it was awesome.
The one sheriff, you could tell, hated his job at that moment. He did not want to restrain that guy. Because the guy got up and he's like, "What would you do? What would you do?" And the sheriff, you could see the sheriff mouth like, "I'm sorry," and shrug.
Yeah.
Like, he did not want to restrain that guy.
Yeah, no, that was incredible though.
Or at least somebody had even if they didn't have a chance to just at least show that that's how angry everybody should be.
Well, there was one lady in the
scenario.
courtroom going, "You can't act like that. You can't do that." Like, bitch, what are you kidding me?
Good, I hope you get raped next.
I wish I was there because I would have slapped the shit out of her.
I was that's when I was beside myself because I was like, this is a good video because you could tell, the sheriffs had to do their job. They didn't want to though. And then there's one lady going, "You can't act like that. You can't act like that."
I think that was the judge.
Was it?
I believe so.
Oh God, what a fucking disgrace!
Yeah,
man.
but
Like,
she was probably just saying that.
you don't get to
because
treat an animal like that with fucking civility.
She's probably not used to not being in 100% control.
Well, he was pleading with the judge. He goes, "Would you give me 5 minutes alone with this animal?"
Yeah, no, I saw that part. But she was just probably having like a little like hissy fit psychological breakdown because the court was not in order and she was supposed to be the one in charge. It probably reflects poorly upon her amongst her peers.
Probably, yeah. But if you let that go down like that, I'm sure.
What is she supposed to do? Yeah, go get him. She had to say something at least to like look like she wanted to withhold order. She gave that really. She the same judge that gave that like real goofy sentencing initially, where she's like, "I'm sending you away for the rest of your life." Like,
I didn't dig
You
that,
didn't see
that far. That story, yeah.
oh, that was I
saw
guess
the
earlier.
video.
One of them was like, "I'm sending you away for the rest of your life and your next life too." But she said it in like a real. It's a different judge. Thanks, I got that from the Peanut Gallery. Thank you, Peanut Gallery.
All right, so let's talk about.
The actual reason we came here.
Yeah. If there was equality of outcome, we wouldn't have fire cream.
That's true. Because that's the thing. It would help to stifle innovation. Although I say that and like, I have these debates quite often with one of my partners who's like, she like really.
Is this the OCD one?
No, this is no.
Oh.
No, my anal partner is Jessica, who is amazing in the lab, helping to build the facilities and everything. She's the one who owns Alchemist Closet, and so
Who?
Alchemist Closet. That's
Oh.
the CBD.
Okay.
So, yeah, so she's awesome. Now my buddy Michael, who's incredible. Me and him have, again, that's one of those ones where completely, really intelligent person who I know really believes everything they say, and like we have debates, and we both and he knows he actually was like a history teacher and stuff, so he knows the history too. It's one of those where we're coming from fundamental frameworks that are completely different, and because we actually respect each other from before, we respect each other's knowledge, it's one of those where we can actually have discussions where at the end we understand that it's not going to end up the same way. You know, we're not going to come to a conclusion, but we at least can understand that the other one's not a complete asshole, and that's why I think we need more of, rather than anything else. Rather than necessarily changing each other's mind, I'd rather people understand that, look, the people around you aren't trying to kill you, all things considered. The vast majority. Because if we can't...
Just tell him, I'm going to come take his stuff when shit gets too unicornish. I'm just going to come take all of his shit.
Well, I told him, I was like, look, man, like, when the gulags start up, you just make sure that you don't send me away. I'd appreciate it.
Well, here's the other
no,
thing,
I'm going to
too.
be running the gulags.
Well, you'll be running the concentration camp, probably.
Here's the other thing to consider, right? What's the one thing that what is helping bond you and overlooking your differences? Your end goal, which is to make money on your product.
Capitalism.
Right.
100%.
Well, yes,
that
and
is
no.
what
Well,
is that
I-
is the biggest thing that is allowing you two to maintain
Yes and no.
civility, because you're both going to make money with
Yes
one
and no.
another. You recognize that. You're not going to do as well without him, and he's not going to do as well without you.
That's absolutely true. But I've known him a long time.
Just shut up and say yes, Mike.
From the health community as well. But you're right. No, from the health community as well. It's one of those where... No, I think that honestly...
Dave, you don't understand, Dave. You don't understand.
There's a lot of things I don't understand.
So what you're saying is... I was trying to do is... What I was trying to go with that is that he... Again, we have these fundamental differences, and we both believe that we're right. I had a point where I was going with that. Got sidetracked there.
Way to go, Dave.
Yeah,
It's
messed
not my
everything
fault.
up.
It's because Dave had to touch the mic again for the 7th time.
Yeah, it buzzed in my ear and screwed me all up.
Well, you know what's good? In 12 minutes, I'm fucking out of here, so you can all
There you go.
suck my fucking dick.
There you go. No, so yeah, so that's what it is. So most people right now are operating under the assumption that anybody who doesn't believe the world, doesn't see the world they do,
Fascist.
not right, that too.
Which you guys all are fascists right now for giving me crap about touching my microphone.
Exactly.
I
That's
just
what it
want
was.
the listeners to have a great experience.
They're fascists too.
So
Let me touch my mic, bro. I identify as this piece of protective foam on
There you
the
go.
mic.
I'm a sound protector. Yes. So it almost because no one talks to each other anymore. It's gotten to the point where everybody assumes that anybody who has even the slightest disagreement with what they believe clearly is not viewing the world right, and they are that other that we were talking about before. So that's where I think those kinds of discussions are incredibly important, and it is incumbent upon the people who are having them to not attack on every detail. It's like, look, actually discuss it. If the other person's being a dick, then yeah, sure, you can kind of attack them a little bit, but for the most part, you need to have that discussion to understand that, look, no, this person's not completely crazy. They have some kind of ideas. And the reason why we're able to have those is that while it's completely different ideas, there's a level of respect ahead of time, and no one respects each other anymore. That's really it.
I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
But
Why,
anyway,
why do you think nobody respects each other?
because there's no level to have respect, because there is no good or evil. There is no right or wrong today.
So what do people? I mean, people do. I respect certain people, and
Because you
look-
don't have a postmodern bent.
Oh,
You actually believe
okay.
there is an objective reality. That there are factors, there are things that are worth respecting.
So if I go through life thinking that nothing matters, blah 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 blah, and I look at someone, I don't want to be like anyone else.
right.
I just want to be like who I am right now. Is that like the general premise and mindset? And I should have everything that I want because I want it? Or like how does that work? How does that fit into the framework of the discussion?
You posed an interesting question that I was just going to think about. Actually, it ties into this. It really, if you think about it, it comes down to like a delusional ego, right?
To an extent. It's a matter of, no, this is the way the world is. If you don't believe that, then we're not on the same page. That I don't respect you because clearly you're not worthy of this. No,
If you don't
everything-
see it the same exact way that I do, then you're a
Yes.
piece of shit, basically.
Right, exactly. You are inherently the other, and that gets into the whole in-group preference idea, which is a real deep rabbit hole to go down. It's a matter of who includes what level of preference, but... So, in this case, it's a matter of you gotta respect everybody, but you can't respect anybody because you don't actually care.
Yeah, I don't respect 80% of the people I encounter in everyday life. I don't respect their intelligence. I don't respect their work ethic. So, but I don't know. I have a history degree.
Right.
And then I have a degree in finance.
Yep.
And I worked as an engineer. So everything has to add up at the end of the
Yep.
day, and when things don't add up, I can't move forward.
Yep.
And I like to listen to people and what they think, but everything they say has to add up. It's
Right.
got to make sense. Or if it doesn't make sense to me, they have to somehow prove it.
Yeah.
Like what they're saying has validity to it. And if I can't see it and it only exists in their mind,
Yep.
I don't know. Send them to the gulag?
So it's funny that you say, right, so exactly, and that's what's so interesting about the way people's minds are wired, and that's what caused me to go down this rabbit hole, is that, as you guys know, like, my mind's very much wired towards diagnostic, towards figuring puzzles, solving puzzles, particularly related to health, and it was one of those things where it was like, what the hell is going on? So this was a puzzle I could not parse out, and again, I'm not saying I have the solution to it, but I think I have put together enough of the pieces where I can kind of see. Again, I touched on certain parts, but there's a lot more that I've thought about regarding how we got here. That's well beyond what we have time to do. But
Well, don't worry, you're coming back.
well, hopefully I'll be further along in the book by then. But having said that, yeah, like that was something that my brain needed to parse out. Like, what the hell's going on? And I've come to that conclusion again that everybody really thinks they're doing the right thing, and that's how we got here. And because there is no good or evil, because there is no right or wrong, that's really what we're at.
Do you believe that they really think they're doing the right thing? Or
100%.
Okay.
Depends on
I guess it depends on who.
So the masses, yes. The people in power on that end, no.
Okay.
Those people actually probably really don't really care. They're just like, no, okay, this is the route we're going. They might have had a point. There might have been a point in their lives when they did, and then as they moved their way up the ladder, they're like, yeah, I'm good now, and I'm just going to keep running the story and keep it pushing forward. And that's another part that people get trapped down. It's like, oh, you believe this magic cabal that's, directing the world. It's like, no, not necessarily a cabal, but there's something collectively going on underneath everybody's that is driving this forward. But whole different rabbit hole.
Gotcha. So let's talk a little bit about why we decided to have you come on.
An hour later.
I think
Try that again.
I've met my philosophy quota for the next year in the last, 40 minutes.
Like I said, trust me. I get it.
I know you have some new products coming out.
Yes. So we were talking about it last time I was on that we were working on getting it out. So we have the fire cream, which is something that I've been personally making for roughly 15 years, give or take. And it was originally my father's recipe, and I've tweaked it up in that time since. Mm-hmm. However, from there, I took on my partners, Michael and Joe and Jessica, so Rebel Health and Alchemist Closet, and we've put together this product, and hopefully, by the time this goes live, it'll actually be out. So we have about 1,200 jars. It's our first run. They've been jarred since December. We're waiting on labels and a couple other little back-end things, and we have a bunch of fighters already signed up as sponsors. That were sponsored athletes. Like we have Sarah Thomas, Hugh McKenna. We have Megan Cowley down in Tampa, who actually was funny enough. She was supposed to fight Sarah at one point.
Gotcha.
And then there was injuries and they didn't go. But I was actually friends with both of them ahead of time anyway. Megan and I come up to New York a couple times. But we have Giovanni Santillan, who is a 23-0 pro boxer, who, let's put it this way, when they fought Pacquiao, both Bradley and Mayweather brought him in to spar because the kid's incredible. And he trains over my partners, Jimmy's over in San Diego, and awesome boxer. Who was it? Who's the dude down in Australia? The one that just beat Pacquiao.
You have to say "beat" in air quotes.
I did.
He
Yeah.
definitely did not win the fight. I don't even want to say his name and give him that much credit.
That guy,
Yeah.
Giovanni might be fighting him.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, so that might be his actual step up.
Nice.
And then we have Mike Lemire, who K1 kickboxer.
Gotcha.
Just fought at the Garden.
I've heard his name before.
Yeah, world champ at one point.
Cool.
Super awesome. So those are our first line of athletes right there.
Nice.
And yeah, so we have that going. Everything else, the back end stuff is all ready to rock. In terms of what it is, I know you guys have all tried it at some point or another.
Yep.
It is basically in terms of what I can say legally, it is a recovery cream. Helps you to recover from injuries and stuff in the sense that
Because it's like a technically like would you consider a supplement, so it's not FDA approved.
so
Is that correct?
well no, so it will be FDA. Well,
Oh, really?
it won't be FDA approved in the sense that it won't be FDA approved in the sense. So yeah, it's so supplements, dietary supplements and everything. It's not a drug, so it's not going to be like FDA signed off on, but it will be compliant to their regulations. What I meant.
Gotcha.
So technically, you're right. Yes, it's not FDA. It's not going to be an over-the-counter prescription, but it will.
Their
There's
standards.
correct.
Gotcha.
And yeah, everything that is going to be in there, or that is in there, the first run's already made. Everything that is in there, let's need the labels. Everything that is in there, yeah, top quality we can get our hands on. Most of the actual herbs that are in it are organic, and they're locally sourced, all the fun stuff. So, yeah, super high quality. Bruises, sprains, strains, stuff like that. Any kind of aches. Depending on how far you want to go down, any kind of tears and things like that, breaks. It will help to support the healing process.
Gotcha.
Yep.
When is it going to be available?
That's a great question. When we get the labels back from the printer, which again should literally be any day now.
Okay.
They're going to be labeled up, and we're going to send them out. They're actually going to be going down the road from here, from the studio.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to get the final pictures taken. The website's going to hit live, and then from there we're going to be ready to rock.
What is your web address?
It is thefirecream.com. It is not live right now, I don't believe.
Gotcha.
You can look to see, make sure. But yeah, I don't believe so. I think we're literally waiting for just the labels, and then we're going to literally hit go as soon as they're all labeled
That's
up.
got to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, so
Did you guys create a marketing plan?
yeah, so that's where Michael and Joe come in. They're incredible with that. So if you go to facebook.com/thefirecream, you can pull up that. We have that right there. Bunch of reviews and stuff already. So anybody who's on right now, for now, you can go to the Facebook page and get hyped. But so with that, yeah, they have. So our initial target demo is going to be the fight community, because obviously myself and my partners, everything are in the fight community, and we have our athletes and everything.
Fighters get beat up and they need to recover more often than people probably from other sports, because their sport involves getting punched and kicked.
Yep.
Oh, look, I'm on there. I like that.
Yeah.
I saw that earlier. Yeah, I like that. I like that earlier.
Yes, it's a picture of myself, Eric, and Hugh McKenna, who's one of our athletes.
Yeah,
so.
I needed that fire cream after that fight. I was real fucked up.
Yeah, that was a fun night, though.
We were laying on the floor in that picture because I couldn't stand up.
that is correct.
That's the truth. Like, I remember you're like, oh, let's get a picture. Or somebody was saying, I want to get a picture of you guys.
Yeah.
And I was like laying on the floor and I just like shook my head. I couldn't even speak. I was like so banged up.
Yeah, that was a rough fight.
But we had 3 fights and 3 big wins that
Yeah,
night.
that was he was the main event, you were the co-main, and I was the co-main.
was
And
a
3
good
title
night.
fights, 3 belts. It's a big night.
That's one of my favorite overall pictures from my career in
100%.
MMA fighting. That's definitely one of my favorite pictures.
100%. And the fact that all 3 have a role in this Fire Cream release right
Yeah,
now,
it's
since I'm on the
pretty
show.
badass.
Right, so I'm like, this is perfect. So I need to post this picture today. I was like, come on.
That's pretty badass. I can't wait till you get some of like the finished product out here so we can pump it up.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, again, any one of these days now should definitely have it. So the initial target, like I said, is for the fight community. We've reached out to a number of different gyms. We have connections to a lot of different gyms across the country. So we have already, obviously, New York, California, Florida, Texas, and Arkansas. Definitely lined
Arkansas.
up. Yeah, my sister's out in Arkansas, and I actually have some other contacts through the health world out there.
Gotcha.
There are other states too, but those are the ones I know for a fact that we could like literally ship out to tomorrow.
Nice.
But yeah, like I know that we have like contacts in like Illinois and New Mexico and stuff like that. So
That's pretty badass. So you'll be selling both on the internet and in like local MMA gyms,
Correct.
or regular gyms as
so
well.
we're gonna be so the initial launch is for MMA, BJJ, Muay Thai, boxing, etc. gyms, and so we're doing a lot of wholesale from there. We're going to do retail from there as well. So we're going to retail through the site, and the gyms can then go and retail it themselves. We'll offer them the wholesale prices, and rolling out from there. And then we also are signing up affiliates, so people that want to sell it themselves, they have a website or anything.
Nice.
From there, we have the we want after we get out of so we already have some healthcare practitioners who are already like excited to sign up, whether they be physical therapists, chiropractors, nutritionists, etc. So we have a whole like range of those who are ready to go. The next step from there is to get it into, like you said, the other gyms, whether it be yoga or Pilates and all that nonsense, and moving it out from there to box gyms and forward and on, and then eventually just regular shells.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have you mentioned earlier you might have some plans for another product as well?
Yes. So when we were making the test runs for this, we did come out with my partner Jessica was able to tweak up the original recipe because there are a couple of things. There are some people who are either sensitive to the capsaicin that is found in the fire cream, fire, heat. So capsaicin is the active ingredient in like hot peppers.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to put some on right now. Which one do I put on?
So go knock yourself out.
Are they both the same?
So one is the fire cream and one is the second product. So that's the fire cream.
Okay.
Go super light on that. The second one, because there is no capsaicin in there.
Okay.
It's good for both if you don't want to have heat. If it's good if you want to put it into locations that may not be good for heat.
Sensitive to heat?
Like your armpit?
That would be one. Or like a pulled groin. And
oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Yep. So, if you pulled your hip flexor and you want to...
Yeah, I wouldn't want the fire cream on my underwear.
No.
I'm going to put it on my neck right now because I have a little bit of a neck issue. I just got an MRI the other day, and I'm going to see how it makes me feel.
Absolutely. So, so you have that one there is the fire cream original. The second one, we were kicking around ideas on names for a little bit. We actually had like a idea for like a naming contest with the people, and we ended up deciding we're just gonna probably, when we release that, down the road a couple months, we're gonna go with just Fire Cream Calm is what we're leaning towards right now. But just because there's no heat.
Makes sense.
Ott's getting shirtless, and here it comes. Woo!
Jackpot.
Oh, I can smell it. It smells hot. Like it would be like something that'll be a little bit warmer. If you were going to eat it, you'd be like, oh, this is definitely gonna have a little kick to it.
Well, yeah. If you go to like a Thai restaurant and you get like a tonka gai soup.
More than that, or about
for
that?
the neck, I'll go even a little less.
Less?
Yeah. You want to go ginger with it. It is pretty strong. And the label, I've put together a pretty in-depth warning label that goes far beyond what's necessary, but what the
I was going to
FDA
say,
likes.
did you have to talk to like an attorney about this? Like,
So
don't put it in your eyes.
that's
Maybe we can use this to thin the herd. Put it in your eyes.
Put it in your eyes. Put it right on your groin.
Yeah.
there you go.
I hope it makes you sterile.
Self-sterilization. Yeah. So I mean, although it might lead to self-celibacy.
It's true.
You might never use it again. If it doesn't
This might be great. This
Right.
might be a good idea.
If it doesn't fall off, right? We'll start the utopia tomorrow. Yeah. So with that, the nice part about the second one is for people that are too sensitive to it, people that
Pansies.
exactly. SJWs.
Wait, what did you say?
SJWs.
Oh,
worse.
okay, gotcha.
Kidding, guys.
See, I'm not that hip with the lingo and the terminology yet.
I'm
so.
not.
Yeah. I've done. Rogan talks about it all the time. He always
Yeah.
rags on the SJWs, but which is funny because he's like pretty damn liberal, minus his like conservative like gun tendencies and stuff like that. And certain things, aspects where he's like no, but all things considered,
Overall, he's a pretty liberal guy.
right. And side note on that, even funnier is the fact. Okay, so people that actually are on the alt-right, the real, the white supremacists, or
I want to meet one. We got to see if we can get one on the show.
so yeah, so like
If you ever run into any, Mike, send them our way if you ever run into any, because I don't even know where to find one.
No, okay, so I'll be honest. I've never actually met a real life white supremacist or white nationalist myself. However, like I said, the same reason why I've dug down the rabbit hole.
Has anyone?
Yes, there are actual white nationalists out there. Yeah. So therein lies the difference. So there's a lot of distinction that's drawn on those. There are people who are white supremacists that actually believe that whites are inherently better. There are those who are white nationalists in the sense that they want a white ethno-state.
So they don't think that they're better, but they're just like, yeah, we don't want the rest.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And that, look, right, if Africans, if Hispanics, if et cetera, XYZ want to form their own ethno-state, then they can do that. So it's again, I haven't met any.
Okay,
I don't
so they're
know.
not racist, but they're just like, yeah,
Well,
I don't want to live with anybody else.
I mean, realistically, they probably are a little racist. But,
But you hear that on both
touch.
sides, though, because you
oh,
hear that-
absolutely.
you hear that from not really Asians because they're low key, but you hear that from some of like
What are
the
you
black
fucking
community.
crazy? Asians are usually the
worst.
worst.
No, but they don't say it. They just you can tell by their actions
Right.
they're racist, but they don't come out and say it amongst.
They're racist against each other. The worst.
Yeah.
Holy
Japanese
shit.
and
Yeah.
Koreans, like the Koreans have been living in Japan for like 40 years, and they're still like
Yeah,
they're
no, like,
foreigners.
fuck you guys, yeah,
right.
fuck you.
It's funny. It's like, but having said that, right. So with the actual, white nationalists, etc., those who have that whole thing, if you say something that's even like directed towards them, or you tweet at them or something, all of a sudden now you're a Nazi.
Yeah.
And what's funny about that is they are like the super far right. They are so far right that most of them want single payer. They want most of the social programs that the progressives want, but they just want it for whites. So, right. So it's funny. They want the same exact. They want the same exact protocols that they want, but so it makes those ideas. So anything else is considered a toxic idea. If you talk to them, makes you a Nazi.
You know what
Yet, funny enough, the ideas
are similar.
well, they're the same ideas. So how come the ideas have become Nazi ideas? Which, although technically, single-payer healthcare was part of the Nazi
totally.
program. If you read the actual
Well, that's
25
because there was no health care before
no,
that.
well,
so-
no, Germany did have individual. Well, it did have socialized healthcare for a long time, even prior. But even so, like Germany was screwed any which way. Whether
we're talking about like we can speak with my grandparents about bringing a wheelbarrow filled with cash to go buy a loaf of bread in
Right.
the Weimar Republic.
Right.
Like their health, they weren't operating in a system like we were today, where we're like, oh, we get rid of these private insurance companies and have single payer. It was like
right.
my grandparents didn't even go to another town that was 5 miles away. My grandfather lived in a one motorcycle town, and he was considered very rich compared to my grandmother that lived in a no motorcycle town. that was 1920s
Right.
Germany.
Right.
Like my mom talks about when she was growing up and she lived in Germany for a couple of months as a child, but going back as like 7 or an 8-year-old, and there not being indoor plumbing.
Right.
In the houses, or no toilet bowls. You used to have to go outside at night.
Yeah, and that's Europe.
And that was Europe in the 70s and 60s.
Right. Exactly. So people don't really realize what path they're heading down towards. That's really what comes, and that's the initial argument in the beginning. So you're really digging in there.
I am, because you know what? It's feeling pretty good. And you know what? It's not too hot. Like, I had a
Right.
couple, like, little burny spots, but I got my hair cut earlier, so they were, like, on the back of my neck where I
Yeah.
got scraped. But it's not bad at all. I mean,
Right.
I didn't put it in my eyes, and I don't plan on it.
So
but-
warning label purposes, don't put it in cuts, but
it wasn't that bad. If I had it, it wasn't that bad.
I'm again
I mean,
from
hot
a
sauce is
personal,
definitely
from
hotter.
off the record standpoint, do what you gotta
whatever.
do. But as per the label, I cannot advise that you put it in two cuts.
Gotcha. Would there be any benefit to put into cuts unless you're just like
For warning
like a
label purposes, I cannot advocate that. However, some of the ingredients include cannabidiol, which is
that's good for cuts?
good for which research has indicated may be beneficial for dealing with cuts and just wounds in general. Comfrey root is a herb in which the active ingredient is something called. Well, let's pull it up on right now real quick. That way you can see.
Should I wash my hand? I should wash my hand, right?
Generally recommend that.
Probably
Yeah.
a good idea.
Yeah, especially if you don't like touch your eyes or anything. But yeah, so COMFREY, comfrey root. You just go to Wikipedia, the easiest way of doing that. But the active ingredient in it is something called allantoin, and allantoin is so named because it comes from the. I would put wiki at the end of that too, just to make your life easier.
Usually it's the first wiki.
Usually
Wikipedia
it is.
usually the first fucking thing that comes up.
So that's it. Yep.
There we go.
So I went on to medicinal use, which again, I'm not making any medicinal claims here. Just saying that the
Just
active
enlightening people.
right. Just that's the way Wikipedia has it listed. So
Yes.
again, I'm not making.
I'm just
any claims.
reading.
Correct. So allantoin is the active ingredient or one thereof, and it is so named because it comes from the same Greek root as allantois, which refers to a vestigial part of the placenta. And if you saw the Mel Gibson episode of Joe Rogan like 2 weeks ago, what is commonly found in the placenta? Stem cells.
Yeah.
So allantoin is so named because it's not a stem cell, clearly not, obviously, but it is a compound that behaves similarly
Similar to it. Okay.
in the sense that, yes, it helps to promote wound repair. And there's quite a bit of, particularly for topical purposes, the FDA doesn't particularly like it internally, but for topical purposes, it's fine. Although it's interesting because you can buy comfrey teas in stores and stuff.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is, the fact that it does promote tissue repair, tissue growth, let's say. If you consume too much of it internally, it could get to your liver, and that's their biggest thing. It's hepatotoxicity
Right.
is their biggest concern. And it's not completely unfounded, and, it's one where a lot of things the FDA does are kind of stretched out a little bit. But
Self-serving.
yes. But, again, ironically, though, going back to the whole stem cell idea, is the fact that after all those years of pushing for stem cells, for embryonic stem cells, turns out that's mesenchymal ones that are actually more beneficial. The embryonic ones that come from the placenta are like, they kind of work, I guess.
Not quite as good as people made them out to see. But
Well, yeah, and because it was such a hot-button issue
Right.
over abortions that the right were like, no, we don't want this, and the left was like,
Okay.
well, now we have to do this because, and you're fighting against science, and it ended up turning out that, oh, by the way, we actually didn't
Oops.
need those.
whoops.
Yeah, but you know what? It's one of those stupid things because no one wants to actually talk,
Right, of course. That comes down to everything. It's,
and that's my biggest thing. People need to talk.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's actually funny. I was telling you guys earlier. I was listening to my first appearance on the podcast,
Yeah.
41, and I saw Eric and D-Rock the other day over at Long Island MMA, and I asked them. I had mentioned the fact of immune dysregulation, and I listened back to the old one. That was literally what I opened with. That was the first thing I talked about, and that's like part of the general thesis of what I've been trying to weave in is using the immune system as a analogy for how the country's falling apart. So basically, if you listen back to those parts, the over and under regulation to internal external stimuli,
Right.
that's the general thesis, and of why it's falling apart. In terms of where I'm thinking potential solutions are exactly what we said before.
Right.
People need to freaking talk.
Yeah.
It comes down to that.
I think we need a good war.
Honestly, probably was
Maybe
coming.
no,
That's the quickest.
like an
way.
invasion. Like somebody needs to invade us.
Right.
Like something real for people to worry about and have to fight. That's what we need so that everyone gets unified. And I'm not talking about another 9/11. I'm talking about like a real threat. So I feel like the ease of life that we've become accustomed to now is what has created the problem
It's
of
comfort.
people overthinking
Absolutely.
everything.
It's comfort, and everyone is there's no. I was just having this conversation. I can't remember who I was talking to about, but when we were growing up, and before us, it was the communists.
Mm-hmm.
It was that was the problem. Like it was the Red Scare, and like it was always an issue. There was something to be afraid of. There's nothing to be afraid of now. People have the ability to think and do, and people who, no offense, shouldn't be fucking thinking. You should just be shutting up and just go. You're a lemming. Like just be that, please.
And not only do they have time to think, but they have social media, so they can tell every single person on Earth what they think, and that's very dangerous. It's very dangerous because you'll have stupid. We might end up with stupid mass rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is when these people that are stupid and are coming up with these asinine ideas are also charismatic.
Yes.
So they are able to pull in the
Yes.
masses they speak eloquently. They're articulate.
Or not.
Well, yeah, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just retarded, and they're like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. No, he doesn't.
Right.
He's drooling on the mic, actually, right now.
One of the other things that I've realized now is that we are the first generation. I was born in 83. What were you born? 82, Yarborough? 81?
Yeah.
What year were
Seven.
you born?
87.
91. So essentially, I'd say that we're really the first generation that's grown up not knowing what a real war is. Like, we have these, like, micro-planned wars in quotes. I get air quotes, I'm saying.
Non-declared, but still.
Yeah, like these skirmishes going on, and everybody knows somebody that's gone to Afghanistan. You might know of somebody that passed away, but it wasn't like the Vietnam War, or it wasn't like World War II war. It was... It's like, oh yeah, we sort of know someone, but nobody got through Vietnam without knowing multiple people that passed away. Nobody got through World War II without knowing multiple people that passed away. Nobody got through World War I without knowing multiple people that passed away. And that kept conflict, real and fresh in their minds. But I feel like since we've grown up not really knowing that, maybe just knowing like the tail end of the Cold War, and that's really it. But you were born in 91, and that means you didn't even really know the Cold War. No. Like, we grew up, I remember being a kid, and you hear about air raid drills and things like that, and seeing the fallout shelters in my elementary schools growing up. And that was a fear of mine as a kid, that there would be some type of nuclear holocaust, that we wouldn't be able to save ourselves.
But all you had to do was get under your desk, and you were going to be fine.
Yeah, that's
well, especially out here, right? You went to school out here?
No, I went to school in Lindenhurst.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, that makes more sense then. All right, well, fair enough. But out here, though, like, you guys had, like, Brookhaven, you had Plum Island off the coast.
Yeah.
Like, right now, if any of those things were still really open, like, especially Plum Island, but, like...
Well, the fucking scary shit that's going on there.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I've spent a lot of time at Brookhaven Lab.
Yeah.
Probably cumulatively thousands of hours.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of work there. When I was working for a surveying and engineering company, I actually worked on the disassembling the nuclear reactor there. I was on that project.
There you go.
And I built the structures that house, I'll just say the particle smashers to make it simple so everyone understands. But I've worked on a lot of projects there over the years. And there is some creepy stuff that goes on there, but it was all, when you look at all the historical photographs online or in some of the buildings there, they have them up, it was all training grounds for tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of young men that were all getting shipped off to World War I and World War II. And no, I don't think anyone was trained there for Vietnam, but the first two world wars, the whole place is all woods now, but it was originally just like giant fields where they were training guys with broomsticks because they didn't have enough guns.
Right.
And
exactly. It's one of those where, especially after that, though, like when it switched over completely towards like the lab and the nuke, like that's a good target. It's a good target right there.
Just Long Island in general, Grumman. People don't realize like how much
Camp Hero out east, like
it was a huge target, and not to mention, if something happens on Long Island, we're all fucking dead. We can't get off.
100%.
We cannot get off this fucking island. There's no way.
None.
You can't get off on a normal day in under 4 hours. Like, you think if there's a fucking air raid going on.
Right.
Like,
I'll get to my boat. Like, good luck, bro.
If you want to, I have a little bit of a conspiracy theory that I can't get to the bottom of. They just redid the Queens Midtown Tunnel.
Yeah.
And at the opening, on both sides, both the Long Island side and the New York side, they have giant steel doors. Yeah, can you Google this, Yarborough, and see if there's a picture of them?
Oh no, you're gonna open a rabbit hole for me. Don't do this to me, man.
Like giant, massive steel doors, so they can seal off both sides. And I haven't been able to really get a good explanation for what they are.
That's almost certainly what it is.
Floodgates. Apocalyptic floodgates and.
Yeah, do you think you can?
TheDrive.com.
They're real scary looking.
Yeah.
When you see these gates, you look at them and you're just like,
holy shit!
Wow. Yeah, those aren't like, they're like no joke gates. And what's funny is we're looking at the back of them now, so they're not that fancy. But when they're open, the inside has like the seal of New York, and they look like real fancy, like almost ornate. But then when you really look at them, you're like, those gates are to keep people in or keep people out, one or the other.
That's the I Am Legend. Those are the I Am Legend ones right there.
I was about to say that it's a zombie apocalypse.
100%. Slam shut.
They say flood protection, but the tunnel is deep down underground, so the water would never come up out of the actual tunnel. The water would just stay at sea level.
Correct.
Which the sea level is lower than the exits of the tunnel on both sides.
There's climate change, bro. So
Yeah, but I mean, they're not worried about it coming through the tunnel at that point. I mean, you go up through Lower Manhattan, and you're just like, I mean, you could look at the videos from Hurricane Katrina.
Right.
The water just flowing over down into the subways.
all right.
Yeah, they're showing flood protection on everything. How they basically seal
Sealed
everything.
down Manhattan.
Yeah.
Oh, this is an MTA video. Of course, they're not going to tell us the truth. Here's Alex Jones.
Next guest.
Yes. Right. So you need Alex Jones and Jared Taylor lined up. Those are your next two. You need your white nationalist and your and your conspiracy
Holy
theorists.
shit, these are fucking serious doors.
I feel like we don't have any good white nationalists on Long Island.
No, I don't think so.
I think a good point that you made, Eric, speaking from the perspective of someone that missed the Berlin Wall coming down and who missed the Cold War, is that my generation has never experienced what it's like when you have a military force coming to take your freedoms away.
Right.
We've never experienced that, and it's hard to take any problems that you hear nowadays seriously, because there's no one holding you at gunpoint trying to change your point of view or trying to take away your freedoms. And
That's why I said we need an invasion.
So
Canada.
Right. There you go.
watch out for them.
Nah, they're too. You could just hurl some like really salty insults at them, and they
Exactly.
would like go running.
Their womankind will,
actually-
people kind will come along and be fine.
I actually
Yeah,
said
for-
it's the exact opposite of that. If I was gonna start taking over places, Canada would be the first fucking place.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you could just
capable.
walk it. Yeah, you could walk in and be like,
Thank
"Hey,
you.
I'm taking over there."
You
man.
could get the
What are you talking about?
population. The population of Long Island could take over Canada.
Absolutely.
Hey, guy.
Well, that's the
Nice
thing.
country you got here, buddy.
Okay, fun stats on that, right? So, population in Canada, you know what it is?
It's very low.
I have no idea.
36 million.
Wow.
Population in California, 39 million.
Yeah.
Population of Australia, 24 million.
Yeah, I know.
Population of Texas, about 24 million. 27, actually. I know it's a little more.
How massive is Australia?
Size of the United States.
Yeah,
I know.
That's so
The
fun.
mass of the United States.
Most people don't realize
24
that
million.
because they don't they on globes and
Yeah.
maps and shit like that. They don't accurately represent,
Right.
and I don't know why. Like, what is the purpose of that? Like,
So it has to do with like the curvature of the Earth. It's really tough to actually get that properly right.
The
but
conspiracy
we know
theorists.
that. But we know it's bigger than it is.
They don't
than
think the
put
Earth's
it on.
round, man.
Well, I'm not even getting into flat earthers.
No, God.
But if you listen to some of the
Hold on,
real,
look at these fucking doors.
I know, it's insane.
if you listen to some of the really far leftists as to why the globe isn't set to actual proportions
Yes.
on maps, it's
Yes.
because the white man
Yeah.
decided that Africa and South America cannot be depicted as larger than Europe
Yep.
or North America.
Yep.
So therefore, they've changed it to skew and let everybody else know that they are all the same size, or North America and Europe might be larger, or whatever it is.
No, yeah.
That's a reach.
So, last point of that, those fun little math numbers, the entire population of all the Scandinavian countries,
Oh, it's so low.
it is, so again, all seven. So, Norway, Denmark, Switzerland, Sweden, Finland,
Iceland,
Greenland, Iceland,
Norway,
and, yeah, I think that's Norway.
I think you said Norway.
Yeah, and then there's the Netherlands.
Denmark.
Yeah, Denmark, we got that one. And there's a couple of islands.
Right.
All those combined, it's about 23 million.
Yeah.
Population in New York plus half of Connecticut or Jersey, take your pick. Again, same. So it's one of those where it's been moderately successful today, any kinds of these more extreme socialized programs.
Like homogeneous populations.
That's a whole other aspect, but yes, absolutely. Until recently, the vast majority of them are ethnically and culturally homogenous, which is a whole different conversation. But yes, that's a huge part. But the small size of the populations in and of itself is huge. The fact that these are literally, those are some of the gold standards for why does it work.
Happiness and-
The Scandinavian countries, Canada, and Australia. Especially the gun thing. That's a big one in Australia. You put all those together. That's Texas, California, and then New York, New Jersey. Parts of New Jersey. We have a lot more people and a lot more land than that.
I think there are some socialist principles that could work and should work. Like the whole healthcare thing. There's no reason there shouldn't be a national single-payer system. And then there's no reason that the current private insurance companies shouldn't exist as like Cadillac policies that are add-ons and perks for you having a good job. You get an add-on where, guess what, you don't have a copay, or you might have a little bit more say as to what doctors you go to, or if you have an extra $1,000 a month to throw on your own health insurance.
Yeah.
That's great. You can go wherever you want. You want to have special surgery, a special elective surgery done. You go get that special elective surgery. I feel like there's no reason for that not to happen. That's pretty much what I'd imagine the right thing to do, but you have the business entities that don't want to have a shift because they want to keep everything how it is, and keeping things how it are, that's the reason things are fucked.
Right.
And I feel like in many cases they try to pit like one side against the other, like, oh, it's the capitalists and the socialists, or
Exactly.
oh, it's the right wing and the left wing.
Exactly.
And meanwhile, it's a bunch of big businesses, and yeah, they're capitalist businesses, but it's not a normal person like you or I that's saying, oh, we can't have single payer. That gives health insurance to the lazy people. No, it's people that are making money and they're in an established business that's taken years and years to build saying, yeah, we're not fucking our shit up. It's working out real well for us.
Yeah.
And like I understand that that's difficult to change, but I feel like it's real foolish for the people that are against the system that we have now to try to blame like the regular person for that.
No, absolutely. So, like, when it comes to the healthcare system, I'm with you to an extent there. So, as it stands right now, we have 3 healthcare systems in the United States. We have the public, the private, and the VA, which is a whole different animal, but it's the most socialized program we have, and it's completely garbage.
The worst program we have.
Correct.
As well.
Yeah, it's complete garbage.
But that's because nobody's paying
Correct.
into it. It's just like whatever tax dollars get allocated per year based upon how many vets are.
Exactly.
under.
So
it's not a real socialized
no, absolutely no. Well, right. It's not
example.
Well, it is because everybody's technically paying it towards the government budget. But
it doesn't encompass everybody.
No, absolutely. Well, part of the problem is that our military budget, it's misallocated. Just like everything's misallocated. There's so much red tape in all aspects of the government.
Lots of bureaucracy
and
everywhere.
that's the biggest thing. So, for my purposes, I'd be okay because, I come at the health field in a lot different than the normal paradigm. I'm very much on the preventative end, and actually getting to the root cause, the functional medicine, things like that. So, functional medicine, nutrition, integrative, all those aspects do not get the same level of respect that the conventional allopathic model gets. So, like right now in New York, my degree with a clinical nutrition degree, I can't accept insurance because New York doesn't think it's worthwhile. But I could go take a ferry to Connecticut, or I could drive over to Jersey. I can get insurance. New York can't do it. So,
but that doesn't have to do with the fact that the state doesn't think. It has to do with the fact that the people that are financing the politicians,
absolutely,
in New York, which is the most corrupt state in the union, don't want you to be able to take a cut of insurance money.
Right. So what I'm saying there, the reason why I'm saying that is that, so if we move to a model that is paid for by everybody into one thing, who is the arbiter to what can get paid out?
Yeah.
So if someone wanted to come to see me or another in the functional med alternative thing, they're not getting paid for. So those have to be out of pocket anyway. So in terms of what I view the Western model is good at, emergency and surgery. Mm-hmm. Those are 2 things that Western model is incredible at, and that's what we should stick towards it. I'd be more than happy with complete universal for that. Everybody, okay, make sure you don't die, good, okay. From there, it's on you now. So that's
I can agree with that, and maybe some basic level of checkups and health care for people under the age of 18.
It's a possibility. I mean, that's the point, though. This is the point where there needs to actually be discussions on negotiation between that versus I don't believe in this versus I do.
Well,
and
part of the problem with that, too, is the people that are having the discussions are politicians, not fucking
Correct.
doctors.
Yeah. Correct.
That's my biggest issue with government in general is these people who are career politicians are making decisions on healthcare
and they're experts
education.
And they're experts on nothing.
Yeah, they're experts on being a fucking politician, taking money, and that's it.
And think about how much time and effort and follow through it would take to get elected to a position where you have that kind of power. Do you think that these people have any marginal knowledge of anything else?
Nothing.
No way.
Other than trying to slide up the ladder?
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah,
That's it.
And also, there's no, I feel like a lot of people feel disassociated with the government nowadays because the government is more closely connected to businesses than it is to the average people. And the reason why is because these people that are elected, these politicians, they don't really care about the people they serve. They care about, well, I can hold this office for this many years, and if I get this much money, and I campaign for this long, and I go to these towns,
and then I can become another politician in another position.
Exactly.
If I do this long enough, I'll become Al Gore, and I'll get $200 million in stock options for a no-show board position after the election's over.
Yeah, it's a systematic problem.
One of the biggest things that shows how disassociated the government is with the people was net neutrality.
Oh yeah.
I don't know one person I ever talked to or heard anything about. Yeah, you're the only.
Bro, as in removal, yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah,
I'm cool with it. So, basically, we're removing something that's been on the books for 2 years. New York, the net was doing just fine prior to that.
Right.
So in 2015, there was no raising up on those costs and everything. There's Instagram and Facebook aren't going to be stupid enough to start charging you $5 a month because then a new platform is going to arise. That's one of those ones where I completely understand why the vast majority of people are for it. Oh, we need to get rid of these internet service providers holding a monopoly over the system. But part of the problem is that the government allowed them to hold that monopoly over that system. So there is a very thin line where we can walk between whether we want the government involved and whether we don't. And certain areas. So let's say you are in Montana, and you are the internet service provider that's in Montana right now. With net neutrality, you are forced to charge this certain rate in order to provide the amount of bandwidth. Everybody gets the same directed amount there. What purpose do you have to improve your infrastructure over in Montana if you can't charge more for what you got? So why am I going to start putting high-speed broadband over in Montana if there's only 12 guys and they're all going to pay the same rate? I can't really do that. If, however, you actually get a little bit more competition in there.
The other problem is living in Montana.
Also true. But, honestly, though, looking at this, I might want out of New York.
Yeah.
Like, Montana might not be too bad.
We can say that about Montana, but we can also say that about where we live in the town of Brookhaven.
Right.
Do you live in Brookhaven?
Yeah.
What kind of internet do you have?
I have Verizon for my phone and Optimum for my internet.
For your internet at your house. What kind of internet do you have, Yarbrough? And what kind of internet do I have? Optimum. Do you want to know why?
Cablevision.
Because the town of Brookhaven takes money from Cablevision not to let anyone else run fiber optics in town of Brookhaven. Yeah. So we only have one choice. And you want to know what happened? They raised it recently. Mm-hmm. They raised it now. My internet is $80 a month just for my internet.
Here's the argument, and against that is your internet speed also keeps going up. I know. I worked for Cablevision, and I was part of the project.
But I don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice, but
they could charge me $120.
You can't get Verizon there?
No, you can't get Verizon.
Huh.
No. Town of Brookhaven, you can't get Verizon.
No. Is Google Fiber around here yet? Or?
No.
All right.
All you have is Cablevision. That's it. Or you can sign up for satellite DSL, which is slow.
Right. Well, when did that go into effect? How long has that been?
Forever. That's just how it's always been.
Yeah.
For the long, we can't get FiOS television or Verizon we can only have, if you want cable, it's either satellite because they don't need wires, or Cablevision. That's it. And before you could get satellite, or it was easily available, or it was affordable, it was just cable. That was it.
But they do, so against what you were saying, they do constantly improve their infrastructure.
Well, where? Here, though.
Here.
Right. Here you have to.
Right.
Because it's going to be one of those where...
I live here. I don't give a fuck about Montana.
Right. Well, neither did most politicians, and then we see what ends up happening. So.
Yeah, I think a bunch of people came out and voted. And
I think the initial point that you were making, though, is that, it nationally got like an 85% disapproval rating, and at no other time really in my recent memory can I remember something being proposed where it gets an 85% disapproval rating, and they're like, whatever, fuck it, we're going to pass it anyway because we don't give a fuck.
CNN's polls of who was going to win the election
90%, right. So with that, right, I'm okay to an extent with having it still in place, had it actually listened to the will of the people. Right. Have had someplace. I'm not like it's not a hardline issue that I'm married to.
Right. It's we don't necessarily know. We don't know where it's
going
to go. We don't know.
We don't know where it's going either way.
Yeah, it could be great. It could be terrible.
It's not going to go anywhere bad for at least 20 or 30 years, and that's when it'll start getting bad after you forget about it for a while.
Right. So the argument on why the other part of that about what sold me on why I was okay with its removal and repeal and everything is the fact that as much as it would suck to have to pay a little more for Netflix, if it came down to it, they're using that much more bandwidth. Like they
use
right,
all of them.
Right, and
Pornhub,
correct, and that's right, exactly. Pornhub and Netflix, right, and it's one of those things where the amount they're using, they're driving through that road. Yeah, you know what? They should have to pay a little more. There's no problem with that. That's where I'm like, no, let the market decide that one. And you know what? Netflix can spend $40 million on what was it, stupid Cloverfield Part 3 to be able to launch that on Super Bowl night. So, they can eat the cost of the little extra cost on the net.
The repeal of net neutrality, it basically shows where everything's going.
Yeah.
Another 10 years, like right now when you call to cancel your cable or your satellite, they don't even ask you why or who you're switching to. They know why. Because you're not switching to anyone, you're just going to be streaming things.
Yeah.
So in the future, like right now, I'm having work done on my house, and I'm having cables so that I can run instead
Cat
of
5.
Cat 5 through
Cat
my
6.
entire house, through my whole house, so that I don't have to either go Wi-Fi to send my TV around, or I can have like a decent internet hookup and I don't have to struggle anywhere, because regular cables going out the window, that's not going to exist
You stream
anymore.
everything, man.
Everything's going to be streamed. Everything's going to be
Right.
streamed moving forward.
What's Cat 5, Cat 6?
Just what they use to run like the
It's
internet.
Ethernet.
around.
Ethernet.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just
So I was going to say on the Cloverfield thing.
Yeah.
what was that? That was like a horror movie or like a
So-
Godzilla?
It was the original Godzilla style movie.
Yeah, so I haven't watched the Cloverfield Paradox yet, but I
Yeah.
was reading this article today about how it overshadowed something that I did watch, which was fucking awesome, and I highly recommend it if you get a chance to watch it. It's called Altered Carbon.
Okay, yeah, I've heard about it.
It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Such a good idea and concept. I believe it was a series of books first, but the show is awesome. So
Nice.
that was just
So it overshadowed it.
yeah, they were talking.
So it's actually supposed to be good, is what they're saying then.
Well, they were saying how the article was talking about how good Altered Carbon was,
Right.
But how Netflix put so much into the Super Bowl
Got it.
commercials for the Cloverfield Paradox, they released them the same day.
Oh.
So people were so overhyped about the Cloverfield Paradox
Right.
that they weren't paying attention to what was the arguably much
Superior,
better,
got
superior show.
I thought that was bad. A bad movie originally, Cloverfield. I
No,
thought it was
Cloverfield
like-
was a good.
The original was alright. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was it was Godzilla meets the Blair Witch.
Yeah, that was my problem with it. They should have done like a mix of the two filming styles, because the whole movie takes place from the premise of this kid who's walking around with a camera.
With found footage, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like
First person
yeah,
perspective.
first person perspective.
And now see what was the thing about that was before Paranormal. It was only slightly. It was like a year before.
Right.
So they saw the success of Cloverfield and were like, "Oh, let's make this
do
horror
this."
movie
Yeah.
again." We haven't done that in 10 years, and then that whole thing, and now it's like how many movies are in that first person now?
everything.
So when Cloverfield did that, it was unique enough that it wasn't bad. It was it made sense.
So is the new one like that as well?
I haven't seen no,
No,
because the second one wasn't either.
No, the second one wasn't. The second one took place.
So how was the third one though?
I haven't seen
I
it.
haven't seen it. Yet.
So I guess it wasn't that good if everyone was like,
It came
oh,
out on
we
the Super
saw-
Bowl. It came out Sunday.
It came out.
Yeah, but that was still a couple days ago. If something real exciting came
True.
out that I was like fired up about, I'd have watched it already.
It looks,
Right.
It looks
So-
interesting. To be
Yeah, I'll
honest
probably
with you.
watch it.
I was so sucked into Altered Carbon. That's all I've been watching
Right.
since the Super Bowl was over.
Is that a series?
That's cool.
It's 10 episodes. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Altered
It's,
Carbon. I'm going to check it out tonight. Then.
What's the
maybe.
premise of it?
No, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Okay,
Don't spoil it.
never
no
mind,
spoilers.
never mind.
No spoilers. I like to go in blind.
Oh, don't worry. Even if I told you everything that I knew from watching the entire series, you'd still go in fucking blind. There's so many twists and turns and so much crazy shit going on in the show. The article was talking about how it only is rivaled by Game of Thrones on TV.
Interesting.
That's how.
It's a
that's
ballsy
how-
statement.
High praise. High
Yeah.
praise.
I was like, all right. I mean,
Are they like?
I love
Are
Game
they,
of Thrones, and
are they? They're good twists though, like Game of Thrones, or are
Great
they
twists.
bad twists? like when you're watching CSI Miami,
No,
and then like
no.
at the end they've been like searching 3 killers, and then it's like really like the milkman who is in like the back of a bunch of shots. Like, oh, it's really the milkman.
Right.
Like,
Scooby-Doo.
I'm like, I invested an hour in this.
Mr. Jenkins.
Gee Willikers.
No.
Jinkies.
That was the one.
Good twist.
Good
then.
twists and turns.
What a twist.
All right, I'm gonna give it a whirl then.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Exactly. Oh, man.
Was that from... That's Adult Swim,
That was
wasn't
Adult
it?
Swim.
That
What a
was
twist.
great.
That was one of the best
my
things. Yeah.
God.
He's like dancing, doing the twist.
Adult Swim has had such like a positive impact on my life in so many ways because it really blew up when I was like 13
Yeah.
and just like everything after that.
I remember when it first came out, and the promos were all the Adult Swims. It was
Right.
like the old people in the pool.
Yes.
No eating in the pool, Phyllis.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, Robot Chicken.
Robot
Yes.
Chicken.
That's the specific one that was. Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
I know about as much about Adult Swim as I do about philosophy. So
I probably at this point I know more about philosophy than I know about Robot Chicken. So in this
Yeah.
Adult Swim in general.
back to our topic of discussion. That
Right.
fire cream's got my neck feeling pretty good and my back. I feel pretty loose right now. I'm gonna take this home with me and have some fun with it later.
Uh-oh.
I might have somebody else rub it on my back.
Be stealing it there. Yeah, so that's basically what kind of questions you got there that really drive that.
So as I mentioned earlier, pregnenolone has come up a couple of times in conversation lately. I heard it discussed on a podcast, and I have a friend in the medical field that put me onto it and was like, oh, here, take a bottle of this stuff and start giving it a try, see how it makes you feel. So I've been doing it for a little bit under a month now, but I haven't felt any definitive notice that I can say yet, but I don't really know if I'm supposed to feel anything or what.
So, if you said you heard it on a podcast, if you go back to episode 41 of the Six Borough podcast, there was this guy, Mike Kuhn, who was on, and he was talking about, I think it was D-Rock who was asked specifically about testosterone and ways to boost that. Mm-hmm. And basically where I was going with that was essentially that, so you have your HPA, your HPG, and your HPT axes, which are your hypothalamus, pituitary, the HP in all of them. That's the adrenals, the thyroid, and the gonads, which Skanga was like, nads. So, with that, it was those three aspects, right? So there was the brain part is the hypothalamus, the pituitary is the master control, sends down information to those three, to the adrenals to produce your stress hormones, to your thyroid to produce thyroid hormone, and to your gonads to produce testosterone or estrogen. Technically both, but more so depending on your biological sex, real thing.
No.
Triggered.
So
I'm spirit gendered, Mike.
gender is a whole fun rabbit hole to dive down. We're not going to do that, but it's not actually a real thing. It was invented in the 60s. Funny enough, by a pedophile.
There were no pedophiles in the 60s. It wasn't invented yet.
John Money, look him up at some point. So having said that, going back to the point. So pregnenolone is the master hormone for the latter portions of what's being produced. So pregnenolone can go towards the stress hormones or it can go towards the production of the sex hormones. And most people are experiencing lots of stress and end up seeing low testosterone or thyroid dysregulation are experiencing pregnenolone steal, whereby pregnenolone is being diverted away towards the production of those stress hormones, and in the process, they're no longer able to produce their sex hormones. So part of the way that was dealt with like 20 years ago was giving people DHEA, because DHEA is like a step past pregnenolone before testosterone, and so it's dihydroxyandrostenedione. Dihydroxyandrostenedione. So DHEA. So we supplement with that, and then now the idea is, well, let's go one step further back from there, and let's go pregnenolone. So the idea is you're losing it by heading towards those. Personally, again, I haven't looked too deep into the literature on actual, exogenous pregnenolone, taking it in. I would probably lean more towards DHEA, and the reason why I say that is if you don't deal with the stressors, you could be taking that exogenously, and it could still be being directed towards
going towards stress.
Whereas
creating what cortisol?
Right, cortisol, and then
That's
adrenaline.
That's if you're like stressed out. If you're
Correct.
already a stressful person. What if you're not a stressful person? Like am I a stressful person, Borough?
No, I don't think so.
No, but again, we talked about in the same one about your other underlying
Pre-fight.
health issues.
Yeah, pre-fight.
Not just pre-fight.
Stressy.
You have other like chronic inflammatory.
Okay.
So
Yeah, like Lyme disease. I have Lyme disease.
Lyme. You had the
topics.
mono back in the day, and so those things can last for a long time. It can be leading to underlying stresses that you're not really paying attention to.
So
Overall,
you think it may make things worse, possibly, in certain
again,
situations?
I'd have to dig deeper into the literature, so don't quote me on that aspect. And see, that's the thing with me, though. If it's something I don't know for sure, that I haven't really looked into, I'll at least let you know.
Gotcha.
But mechanistically, it's possible. So part of it is that it could be directed that way, taking it exogenously, whereas DHEA will probably go straight down. So from a personal standpoint, the other aspect of that would be to minimize stress overall. Now, again, you might not have too many emotional or psychosocial stresses these days. That's great. So that's one less thing to worry about. From there, you were doing the ashwagandha, I remember at one point. Things like that are a good idea. Meditate, mindfulness exercises, things like that, breathing exercises. Just basic things like that can help direct away. So, conversely, there are people who have, excess of those hormones. They might want to try and head more towards the other directions, so.
Gotcha. So it's like a case-by-case thing. Right. Sort of like go by how you feel is what you would recommend?
Yeah, so I would go by how you feel. If you weren't experiencing thyroid or reproductive hormone issues, there may not be too much legitimate benefit to that.
Okay.
If you're, what was the general recommendation for, just quality of life or,
overall central quality of life.
Yeah.
It'll make you feel a little bit better with your training.
Yeah.
Boost your test levels. It'll even things out that might be a little bit off. And, because you've done some MMA fights.
Yeah.
Before MMA fights, they test guys, and I've had, my testosterone tested, and we're putting a lot of stress and beating our bodies
100%.
up, and your testosterone levels drop.
Yes.
Just from my own personal experience, my sex drive doesn't exist for 3 weeks before I fight, maybe even a month, because your body's just so probably exhausted from taking kicks and punches and wrestling and grappling and just doing your running, getting all of your workouts in, your diet, you're tapering off your diet, you're cutting your calories, and your body's got other things to worry about.
Right.
So from that standpoint, I thought maybe it would help me a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a possibility. I never really had too much of those issues because I was getting more I was going straight keto for the month out. I mean, I had slightly more carbohydrate, particularly from vegetables, up until the 2-week mark. And that 2 weeks, I went to more of a straight, nothing but keto. And then finally tapered back to fats. But because of that, the cholesterol production was still up, and cholesterol proceeds. It's further back on the pathway from pregnenolone. Cholesterol goes to pregnenolone.
I'm familiar with that now because I've been doing a little bit of reading and listening to people speak, and you hear about cholesterol, people you want low cholesterol because it's better for you, but it's it is supposed to be better for you, but it's not that good for
170 to 240 is where you want to be. They say less than 200, and you're at 167. No, that's no. If I start, so when I look at people's blood work, because when I was on then, I was still actively doing a lot more blood work analysis. I still do it for clients and friends every once in a while. Look at it.
I'm gonna ship you mine off. I have a gamut of wacky tests that I go. And the doctor, if we're gonna do blood work, I need you to do all this, and they just look at me, and they're I'm not even gonna ask you what this is for, but I'll just write it. You just do whatever you want.
Yeah, good doctor. So more often than not, if I see something that's less than 170. That's generally indicative of a chronic long-term inflammation.
Gotcha. Because
what that's showing is that there's some kind of stress going on, and it's being diverted away from the production of cholesterol. I'm sorry. It's gotten to the point where you basically depleted the cholesterol you have in your system. So if it's super low, it means you're running low. You've used it all on the production of all these other hormones. It's generally indicative of a long-term inflammation. The opposite end of that, people that have super high cholesterols, and by super high, I'm usually not worried until I see past 300. and those are usually people that have familial issues. So
something that runs in the family.
correct, which does exist. So that's my big problem with the cholesterol recommendations is that, yes, there are people who have incredibly abnormally high levels of cholesterol, and that is a problem when it gets to those scary high levels. But
diet, though, you think that a lot of that is
So
just diet?
no, it's not.
Yeah,
but that's what I'm about to get to. 15% to 30 depends on which studies you're looking at. There's a little bit of distinct, but it's either 15 to 30% of the population is a hyper responder, meaning they have any reaction to dietary cholesterol and saturated fat, leading to changes in cholesterol. The other 70 to 85% of the population has zero change. It might affect it by like 3 points here or there,
Yeah.
a couple of points swing. It's not going to have any long-term effects.
Yeah, that's what most of the research out now is
Correct.
showing.
So that 15 to 30%.
They can have high cholesterol, just is what it is.
Yeah.
So to an extent. So the reason. Okay. So quick cholesterol little dump here. Yeah. Your HDL, LDL. HDL is good, quote unquote. LDL is bad, quote unquote. What it really is, HDL takes cholesterol from the body to the liver to be cleaned out. LDL takes it from the liver and puts it out back into circulation. Generally, it's doing so either for the production of hormones, to go to your brain to help maintain brain matter, for the production of vitamin D. That's another one that comes from cholesterol. Or it's going to deal with inflammation that's going on. So basically, if you cut yourself, your body's going to start forming a scab on the outside. Those atherosclerotic lesions that are filled up by the cholesterol are basically scabs on the inside of your blood vessels. So the cholesterol is going out as part of your immune system to help clear out damage. So in that process, if you're somebody that has high levels just floating around because that's how well you won the genetic lotto, then yeah.
You're getting put on statins.
Right. And the reason why that's a problem is if everybody's driving, we talked about traffic earlier, right? If everybody's driving along and isn't an asshole, isn't stopping looking at, the side, generally speaking, it doesn't really matter how many cars there are on the road. It's when one person screws it up and now you have rush hour traffic because there's too many cars. So if nobody gets into an accident, there's no crash, and everybody has to go and look, then, as I messed up with the mic, right? It's like, we talked about this before. Yeah. So yes, if no one turns to look, there's no accident, and they're just going to drive along. So so it's not inherently a problem that it's that high. But if it's in that insane high levels, that 300, 400, 500, there's more likely a chance that you're going to screw something up, and those are going to get oxidized, and they're going to start to fill in these plaques. And
that's bad news.
Yes. So once it gets to that level high, you're going to be in trouble somehow. You can't live the perfect life. Just the utopia of the human body doesn't exist, just like the utopia of the government doesn't exist.
I like that analogy.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
that's a
man,
good
it's gonna be. This book's gonna be something. There's gonna be something to this. I promise you.
I have another question about cholesterol.
Yeah.
And this is something that I came across recently. I think I saw it on the internet. But how do you recommend when you go to get your blood work done? They usually have us there. Oh, you have to come fasted. But from what I've heard is when you fast, that tells your body to put more cholesterol into the system because there's not the normal level of cholesterol in it. So it would cause your cholesterol levels to spike up higher than they typically are when you're normally walking around being a human being. Like, would you have any input on that topic?
So
Or, I don't know. This is just something that I've read.
right.
So I want to know, like, to get to the bottom of it. Like, what is your actual opinion as somebody that thinks outside the box? Because the regular doctors are just going to go on statins.
Right. So I don't necessarily disagree with taking it fasted. I think most things you probably should take fasted.
Okay.
Particularly on that. And so when you get your lipid panel done, you're looking at your total cholesterol, the basic lipid panel, total cholesterol, HDL, calculated LDL, and triglycerides. And they basically do the math to figure out what your LDL is. They do actually can test directly, but you have to request that, or your doctor has to request that. There's also LDL particle size and count and everything. But the reason why I bring that up is, so your triglycerides are technically part of your lipid panel, but the triglyceride, triglyceride has to do with glucose, has to do with sugar. It's 3 sugars attached to a fatty acid backbone. So it's technically a fat, but it's also got 3 sugars in. And it's actually the main way in which our body stores sugar. So when we like convert sugar into, let's say your glycogen stores are filled. So that's the way our body stores sugar in muscle and in fat and in your liver and your muscle. If that's filled, then it's going to go, any excess sugar that has been burned off some other way.
It goes into your bloodstream.
It goes into your bloodstream and then it goes into your fat. And it's stored in your fat as those triglycerides. Now, when it gets broken down, when you eat something, those could go, if you eat something that's very sugary, those could go up as they're getting stored in. They're getting converted to those triglycerides to get stored. And if it's fasted, if you just ate something that was sugary, it could go up low or higher there. So there is something to be said about taking it fasted.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you would recommend just doing it as recommended?
Realistically, yeah. Especially some of your other things, too. Like, if you eat something, it's going to throw off some of the markers. You're better off going fasted overall. Like, if you, especially, like, so they tested your calcium. If you just drank a thing of milk beforehand.
Your numbers are going to be all sugary.
Right, because it's in your blood, theoretically, at that point, so.
Gotcha. I have another question pertaining to ketosis or keto-style diets. I found just similar, this isn't like an important part of it, but with Lyme's disease, I found that if I rotate my diet around on like a monthly or like bi-monthly basis, I typically feel the best energy level-wise. So I'll switch from doing like your standard American diet, which is shit, which usually like lines up with like Christmas and like the holidays, and then like summertime starts. You're like, oh fuck it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'll rotate that in like 2 or 3 times a year, and then other than that, I'll stick with either a keto-style diet or a modified keto where I'm doing, like, I don't know, maybe 100 to 150 grams of carbohydrates a day, which as an athlete, like, I burn that off anyway. It's not like I'm a sedentary person.
Right.
I put out like a massive amount. Doing MMA, you have a massive output when you're doing that type of sport. It's not like, oh, I go to the gym and I lift weights for a half hour, or oh, I like to jog.
Yeah.
It's like you go and you lay on the mat for a half hour because you can't drive home afterwards.
Yeah.
So what I've found though, I don't know if you've heard anything about this or you've had similar experiences. When I'm training heavily and I'm doing a strict keto diet, I get a lot more bruises, and I find myself a lot more susceptible to injury.
Interesting.
Now, I don't know. This is based off maybe 2 years of doing it on and off, but I'll find I'm somebody that never bruises.
Yep.
But if I'm doing keto and I'm into keto, like maybe like, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks in, I'll start to get bruises.
Interesting. Regarding that, so when you're doing a keto, what are like your iron levels like, B12, vitamin K, like?
When I'm doing keto, I do like a spinach kale shake every morning. I supplement with what is it? Which is the one D3, K2. I do vitamin B injections also, usually 1 or 2 times a week. I'm like pretty strict about the way that I have everything structured. And I was just wondering if you've heard any other people say that they feel that they get injured more, like other athletes, because if I was a regular person, I was just walking around, I probably wouldn't have problems. But the last time I was like pretty deep into ketosis, like I had a finger pop out of the joint.
Interesting.
And, like I've never had that happen before. And I don't know, I have my own little theory, and it's just because I don't have inflammation, and inflammation equals like padding on your body and maybe holds things tight, like ligaments and tendons. The inflammation makes everything tighter and holds it together. And if you're doing keto only for like a short span of time, maybe it just like brings down the inflammation and loosens everything up a little bit. Or possibly the bruising comes from you're not having enough padding that your body's normally used to have. So I don't know. I'm just asking you because I don't know. That's like my layman's theory based on personal experience. Like I don't know why. Never get bruised in my whole life. Do keto for a month. Next thing you know, I'm like, oh fuck, I got bruises all over my thighs and my arms.
There could be a little bit on the water retention side. Do you up your electrolytes and salt in particular, like pink salt and things like that?
I actually started doing that after the fact because I was speaking with another professional athlete, Gregor Gillespie, and he was telling me, he's like, oh, if I spar Thursdays on like Tuesday night and then all day Wednesday, he's like, I go crazy with the salt just so that I'm holding water.
Yes. So that's exactly it. So going keto, so there's 2 main ways your body stores water. And there's other ways, but the way that it basically puts it into your system is through salt and or carbohydrates. They both help to retain the water. One of the other ways that everybody knows, creatine is another one too. Which, when it comes to actually cutting the weight, those are the three main things I focus on for water weight purposes. The last week of a cut. So, when it comes to keto, if you're not explicitly cutting the water that week, if you're cutting the carbs back, I would absolutely up the salt. That's the thing that a lot of people don't do. So, like, you look at Dr. Dom D'Agostino down in USF Tampa. He's with he's one of the foremost guys on keto, and he had a contract with the government for the Navy SEALs, get them so they didn't have seizures underwater. And his whole thing was he will sometimes go upwards of 10 grams of salt a day. Mind you, the DRA is or RDA is 2,300, which I think that's, while they say 2,300 max, I'm trying to keep it under that. I think 2,300 is where you want to be, minimum. I think 3,000 is probably the best bet for most people. There are weight issues. He is a ginormous human being who's super deep in ketosis. Dude's 250 solid, yeah, and 6 foot, 6 and change, wherever he is, and he's big boy, but he gets in 10 grams of salt a day, so
up my salt intake. That might
yeah,
help
pink
out
salt
a little bit.
and electrolytes in general. Yeah, so coconut water, things like that.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't go too crazy on the coconut water. I might water it down a little bit, but even so, I would actually take a gallon of water, you're drinking, and put pink salt in it. I've done that many times.
Right now, I'm in the transitional period from my standard American diet that started around Christmas and ran pretty much through January. And about a week ago, I started. I'm not rotating things out, but I just started eating more of my meats and cheeses and more shakes and things like that. And eventually, I'll start to filter out some of the bad things that I enjoy eating, like French fries.
Yeah.
Which I love, and barbecue sauce. Now,
They're
pizza
so good.
stays throughout my keto. I have my slice in the morning, and then it gets burned off, and then the rest of the day I'm good.
There you go.
Just one slice.
I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
The first one being about your product.
Yes.
So obviously your product is designed to help athletes, a lot of whom might be in the same position as yourself or Eric Ott, professional fighters, people that are taking a lot of damage. There are other products on the market like this. What was your mentality when you were creating this product, and how do you feel it is offering something different than the other products on the market that are designed to suit the same purpose?
Yep. So a lot of the problems that most of them run into is there's no transdermal aspect, meaning something to get it through the skin at a better penetration rate. So in the original formulas before we brought it to market, I was using DMSO, which is dimethyl sulfoxide, and it is one of the most successful penetrative agents there are. Comes from wood pulp for all intents and purposes. It's brought down. Problem is that A, it's a little too effective, and B is that some people there's potential for irritation and things like that. So unfortunately, you can't put it into topical agents. Having said that, and not get a letter and FBI agents at your door because FDA's or DEA agents because the FDA is very upset with you. Conversely, MSM. If you ever see any joint and other articular health related products, it's always MSM, chondroitin, glucosamine.
And chondroitin. That's what I took for my tendonitis or something like
Right.
that earlier on in my MMA career.
Exactly. And now hyaluronic acid is getting a lot more of a push and everything. But MSM, though, is one of the ingredients there. And it is methylsulfonylmethane. And it is literally 2 DMSO molecules together. And so that actually is cool, both internally and externally. So because of that, we're using that as the replacement. Now, part of the problem is that it theoretically should penetrate slightly slower because it's a bigger molecule. Think if you had a drain and you had a big thing of butter, let's say. If you just slapped a big ball of butter in the drain, it'd take a long time to go down. You cut that thing of butter in half, go down a little quicker. So the half DMSO will, when it's, 1 molecule of DMSO, will technically result in penetration faster and theoretically, because I've tried the 2 side by side and it seems to be pretty legit. Seems to be fine. But most people I've had try it, like Brian Michelino, who's been a guest before. He's been one of my most long-term users of Fire Cream, almost 10 years now, and he's very big proponent. So I gave him one of the original sample jars to try. I'm like, dude, what do you think? And he seems, that the penetration he agrees is basically the same. But what we found is that it actually lasts longer because there's two of the molecules essentially. So it lasts longer on the way in, but on the initial go, So that's something to be mindful of. That if you put it on and then you're going to shower later on in the day, to be mindful of that because it will reactivate. Other things it brings to the table, so a lot of them, most of them will be using a capsaicin base and they'll be using menthol base, so the hot and cold aspect. Icy hots and those. That's a good part of it. But then there are a lot of other herbs that could be beneficial that aren't actually in any of these. So things like comfrey root, we talked about that earlier. Yeah. It can help to rebuild the extracellular matrix according to research. Again, I'm not making any claims that my product's going to be able to do that, but that's what a lot of the literature has shown.
That's what the thought process was.
Correct.
As you were making
including that particular herb in there. Yes, that literature I've seen is pretty impressive on that. Now, another aspect of the DMSO that unfortunately was lost is the anti-inflammatory aspect. So it is a very potent anti-inflammatory to the point where I've had jars of fire cream sitting next to my my slot next to my driver's side seat that God forbid I got into an accident. I've had it there for my head. And yeah, so I've personally had it there as a, just in case. Now, the MSM covers half of that. It does help with the inflammation to an extent. The other end, though, is we're using CBD. And the CBD helps with the inflammation aspects, too. Now, what makes this superior...
So there's CBD in this cream as well?
Yes, there will be 150 milligrams per 2-ounce jar.
This one that I just used?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Yep. So what makes this superior to most of the other CBDs out there is the fact, again, creams in particular, are, well, CBD in general, because there was a study came out last year, I did a video on that where they tested a whole bunch of different CBDs and they didn't have CBD or had adulterants in it and like a whole bunch of other things. The company that I'm working with, she's actually one of my partners, Jessica, it's high quality stuff. So that, no problems with that. So there's the issue of it actually being CBD. The other end of it is it's not great transdermally. It doesn't go through the skin by itself. So along with the MSM, along with several of the other essential oils that actually help to increase penetrance, it works a lot better in that sense.
A lot of thought that went into this product, people. Everyone who's listening over the airwaves. This guy was thinking about this for a long time.
We've been making it like 15, 16 years. I want to say 2002, give or take.
So essentially you're looking to cover all aspects of what a recovery and healing cream
Correct.
Should encompass.
Yeah.
As opposed to what probably more commercial companies are just looking to do is like make the person feel better temporarily and want more of it.
Exactly. And so the vast majority of the original formula came from my father, who was a naturopathic doctor. And so I grew up in a household where herbs were like the way we went about things. And a lot of thought, again, I learned a lot about that kind of stuff when I was younger. The herbs themselves, that's where a lot of this came from originally. Now we can have them processed in a much larger batch. Like I was making 20 to 60 jars at a time, depending on how many people really were like, oh, wait, I need right now. And then it grew bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where like, we should probably do something with this. Like, people like this. We need to make this into a real deal. So that's where we end up here.
Great.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're at 2 hours already.
Yep.
So we'll probably wrap this up.
Yeah.
Mike, you want to plug anything?
So, yeah, like I said, firecream.com. And then we're going to have, so if you go right now already, it's available. It's facebook.com/thefirecream. I'm trying to think if it's firecream.com or thefirecream. Might be thefirecream.com. Either way.
You said before the fire cream.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about it. I think actually might be. I think they're both.
I like thefirecream.com. I like putting the in front of things.
Yeah.
It's important.
I'm real into that.
It's the most used word, so.
It also signifies importance.
Exactly.
So we're gonna wrap it up, but we're gonna make sure that when you do have your website up and going in a week or so, we're gonna get you some plugs out there just so that everybody listening can go to Mike's website and give the fire cream a try. I put it on my neck probably about a half hour ago, and I definitely feel pretty good. I'm
Nice.
like real excited about using the rest of this jar.
I'll let you keep the fire cream one, but the fire cream, the alternate one, I'm going to have to take that one back. That's the last one I got of that.
I'll give that one back.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry, man. It's funny, too, because actually Al Percy was trying to buy that one off of me, too, and I was like, nah, man, sorry.
They're basically the same, except one is just a
There's
little
no
bit hotter,
capsaicin. Right, so there's no capsaicin in the what's going to be the fire cream calm eventually. There's a little bit more menthol in it. A little bit less cinnamon. Cinnamon's got a little bit of a heating factor to it.
I like the burn. I like to feel like
Right.
I like it to hurt a little bit before it feels better.
Yeah, but it's one of those where there's certain places where I'm gonna need that too. And
I'm not trying to put it in any of those places. My back hurts.
Well, you pull your groin, you'll be like, oh man, I wish I had that now.
I'll just take some OxyContin or something.
Right.
Like that. That's American, like America, standard American.
Nice, gotta rub some Kratom on, you'll be all right.
Yeah, sounds good.
Which apparently is now an opioid.
Is it officially now?
That's what the
I mean,
FDA said.
CBD is technically a Schedule 1 now too. So
Fucking idiots.
I know it's ridiculous.
Anyway, we'll get into that next time.
Yeah, I feel like we've ranted about that before too.
We did for a little while.
Yeah.
But we could always rant more.
Oh, absolutely. I'm always game to rant about the government. Come on. we took the first hour was supposed to be a podcast about the fire cream and be like, oh, yeah, by the way, screw the political situation. My brain's been crazy. I'm sorry.
So that just means philosophically we have to keep things how they are, because if they go too far left or too far right, we won't be able to say anything badly about the government.
That's true.
Because the
To an
fascists
extent.
or the socialists, either one, they'll cut our mic.
Yeah, they'll be after us.
To an extent, that's
true.
not incorrect. Yes, I would definitely agree. It's the people that think that we're building this utopia that cannot exist on either end. That's what I don't want to see. Like, we're going to be trading off what has literally brought